first, and then remain standing for the invocation. It'll be by Councilwoman Dusty Brantner.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. As we open this meeting, let us center ourselves in the purpose that brings us here, the service and stewardship of our community. May we be mindful of the trust placed in us and approach our responsibilities with care, humility, and respect. Let our discussions tonight be guided by a spirit of cooperation and a commitment to the common good. May we remain focused on solutions, grounded in integrity, and open to the diverse perspectives that strengthen our city. Together, may we lead with wisdom and act with heart. Thank you. Amen.
Thank you very much. Item number 5. Do we have any comments on agenda items?
Mayor, we do have several comments on agenda items. They're all pertaining to the public hearings. We'll address them at that time.
Okay. On any citizen comments on non-agenda items?
Mayor, yes, I do have 3 comments on non-agenda items. The first one will be Tori Cranford. If you could please state your first and last name and your address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Tori Cranford, 472 West Concho Street. I'm actually in the county, but I'm here today representing the Graham County Chamber of Commerce's board president. I wanted to personally thank Mayor and Council and City Clerk Beatrice Driver and the Assistant City Manager Eric Bejarano, all of you for your help during Salsa Fest. It was so greatly appreciated. The City of Safford employees with a few little things like a water main busting and all that. You know, it happened, but it all happened without a lot of notice to our community because of how amazing everybody worked so well together. And thank you to all the council members and everybody for putting their taste buds out there to be Salsa Fest judges. We really could not have done this event without the City of Safford and all of you. So I wanted to express our gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Harvey John. If you could please also state your first and last name and your address, please.
And thank you. Harvey Dale John. I live at 2505 West Safford Bryce Road, which is in the county here. I'm here as an official officer of the Graham County Historical Society, and I'm here to request your consideration for helping us reestablish our museum here in town at the location that is 425 South Central Avenue, which is the northeast corner of Central and Highway 70. This would be an ideal location for us to reestablish our museum. As some of you may remember, we had a museum there at Thatcher where the middle school is. And we were there, and we were considered one of the best rural museums in the West with over 13,000 artifacts. And we had to put that in storage when Thatcher wanted to build their middle school there. So in that regard, we have earnestly checked out over 21 possible locations and to no avail. In fact, this piece of property I had originally over a year ago tried contacting the people that own that parcel, but was unable to get a hold of anybody. Since then, you all have purchased that property. And in regards to the potential value and worthwhile to have a museum reestablished in the Safford city limits with high visibility. This is an ideal location. We were granted money for building a building, which the funds have been allocated for that. And we have since got a building that was donated to us if we would remove it from the site that it was at and get it off the property. We have that in storage. We would like to use it for this location, which with the existing concrete that's already there as a slab would help us tremendously in this regard. And anyway, our building is 80 by 123 feet. Just to let you know, we are not part of the Pima Museum in any way. But I sent a package in that you all should get at some point in time that has a cover letter with pages of documentations concerning
Mayor, the time is up for 3 minutes.
the benefit of having a museum. And I would like you all to consider that, and we could discuss it. Thank you.
Next, Mayor, we have someone from Desert Cat Rescue. If you could please state your first and last name, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. I'm Doris Kempton. Cheryl Christensen.
Michelle Larimore.
We are board members, and Cheryl is the director of Desert Cat Rescue. We're a nonprofit here in Safford. We've been here 10 years. We submitted our request for funding. We didn't know we were supposed to address the council at the time the others did. We didn't get the email until it was too late to come to the meeting, so we very much appreciate you letting us address this meeting. We put in our request for the maximum of $20,000. However, we would be very grateful for any amount that you feel like that you could approve for us. Our request was for funding for our spay and neuter discount voucher program. It's a very great benefit to the community, and we continue to get requests from the community for vouchers. We issue discount vouchers to people in the community to get their pets spayed and neutered. And then after they go to the vet and have the surgery, we pay the vet out of our grant funds, hopefully when we have grant funds. So that is our request. Would anyone, either of you, like to say anything?
Short note that the funds do go for both cats or dogs, so it is not limited. And they can request any combination in any amount because we don't want to put a limit on the amount in case they have more than one pet.
Typically, we issue 40 vouchers a month, and that's based on the workload that Dr. Chapman can handle in connection with her regular workload. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Anybody
That's
else?
all the comments. The rest will be for the public hearing.
Okay, then. Then we'll move on to item number 7, proclamation. Proclamation is for the National Women's Small Business Month proclamation.
Mayor, we do have Tori Cranford here, who will be giving a few words on the proclamation.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and community members. Thank you for taking the time this evening to recognize National Women's Small Business Month. October is a time to celebrate the women who have stepped forward to build and grow their own businesses, women who bring creativity, courage, and determination to everything they do. Across the nation, women-owned businesses are one of the fastest-growing segments of our economy. Their success goes far beyond the bottom line. They create jobs, support families, and strengthen the communities we all call home. Here in Safford, we have so many incredible examples of women entrepreneurs making a difference. Our very own Main Street is a living proof of that spirit, lined with women-owned shops, restaurants, salons, and studios that bring energy, charm, and life to downtown. These women have invested not only their time and resources, but their hearts into creating spaces that draw people together and make our community thrive. National Women's Small Business Month reminds us that behind every storefront or small business is a woman who had an idea, took a leap of faith, and worked tirelessly to turn that vision into reality. These women represent dedication, not just to their business, but to their families, their customers, and to the future of Safford. So tonight we say thank you to all the women business owners in Safford for your leadership, resilience, and community spirit. And thank you to Safford City Council for recognizing and supporting these women who are the heart of our local economy and the backbone of Main Street. So on behalf of the Small Business Development Center, thank you for your ongoing support and joining us in celebrating National Women's Small Business Month.
Do we need a motion for that? Mayor, I move that we approve the proclamation for National Women's Small Business Month.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion and a second to approve the proclamation for the Women's Small Business Month. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The proclamation reads, National Women's Small Business Month, October 2025. Whereas working women constitute 57.5% of the nation's workforce and strives daily to serve their communities, their state, their nation in a professional, civic, and a cultural capacities. And whereas 39.1% of all United States businesses are women-owned, translating to approximately $567 million plus women-owned businesses that generate $2.2 trillion in annual revenue and employ 9.4 million workers. And whereas women should be applauded for their contributions to the workplace and the financial stability of their families, especially during times of economic downturn, when more women have become the primary breadwinners of their households. And whereas a central purpose of National Women's Small Business Month is to promote equity for all women and to help create better conditions for women in business through the study and advocacy of social, educational, and economic issues impacting women in the workplace. And whereas the Eastern Arizona College Small Business Development Center, through its Small Business Women of the Year Committee, proudly recognizes the outstanding achievements of women business owners in Graham and Greeley counties each October with the annual Small Business Women of the Year Award to be presented on October 30th, 2025. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Richard Ortega, Mayor of the City of Safford, do hereby proclaim October 2025 to be recognized as National Women's Small Business Month, and that the City of Safford honors the remarkable women entrepreneurs and business leaders whose vision and determination strengthen our local economy, create jobs, and inspire the next generation of leaders. In witness thereof, I hereto sign my name and cause the seal of City of Safford to be fixed on this 13th day of October 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And I will say that women, I was in business for 46 years, and a lot of our family members were women, and they are sharp. They don't give up. And I would say, too, that in my case, my wife was my strength. She was behind me for 46 years, pushing me. So women contribute so much more than just what's down in black and white. They're wonderful to have. Thank you. Okay. Now, we'll item number 8, rate the study presentation by Troy.
Mayor, Council, Troy Bingham, I'm your Finance Director. And we're here to talk about the rate study tonight and the facts that are behind the rate study. So the rate study started about a year ago. In October of 2024, we engaged a third-party consultant, went out for procurement, found the lowest bidder, had a third-party consultant come in starting in November of 2024. They waited for our fund balances from our 2024 audit so that they could get accurate fund balances to begin with. And then they presented a rate based on models, based on industry standards, based on market, based on a lot of different facts. There's many different levers you can pull when doing a rate study, and we figured out which levers were the best and the most advantageous to the city of Safford. So in general, rate studies evaluate financial sufficiency. So as you noticed in our Appendix A that we presented to the public starting in June of 2025, it's been out there on the street for at least 60 days. It included operations, maintenance, capital improvements, debt service, and regulatory compliance issues with each one of the funds, starting with the beginning fund balance and ending with a 5-year ending fund balance. As you can see, that those funds are in balance and within the policy that the council has set for required fund balances. Those required fund balance policies also help us in our bond rating if we do issue debt, which we do for our water and wastewater utilities. The other funds we currently have never issued debt for. Fairness and equity is one of the things that we looked at. So do you put all of your rate changes on commercial? Do you put it all on residential? Those are factors that we factored as we looked at the models and looked at the various scenarios. In certain cases, we don't want to be uncompetitive with our neighbors, Thatcher, Pima, the county. So we make sure that we're competitive in the market when we talk about commercial. Residentially, we try to make sure that we're competitive with our neighbors. How are they able to do it for the price that they're able to do it for, and how much can we do it for less? Plans for the future. We have an $80 million CIP that we approved in 2026 that has 5 years, that has $80 million for just these utility and service funds. So there's $80 million that needs to be collected over the next 5 years from approximately 9,000 customers in water and as little as 3,500 customers in gas. So there's a lot of different rates and a lot of different amounts that have to be collected, but those all have to build up to $80 million of fund balance that pays for CIP. We brought in a third party because they provide an unbiased, independent, data-driven basis. Our decisions were based on data. They're not based on feelings. They're not based on who we were trying to figure out who should pay and who shouldn't. They're based on who is the real customers, who uses the most of the utility, who would benefit the most from this rate change. We looked at all that. And then the last thing is encouraging conservation. You'll notice that, especially in water, the most scarce resource we have, we buy gas, we buy electricity from other places around the state, but water is our most scarce resource. We have a limited quantity that we can give out, and we have to protect that resource over time. So what we're looking at is encouraging conservation in the Southwest Desert, right? It's the thing that we look for. We have an effluent plant that generates some water. We would encourage use of that effluent plant wherever possible. So with that in mind, let's get into the rate study and actually what the facts are. I've kind of highlighted some of the changes, but there are many changes, but there's also many decreases. A lot of people focus on just what's increasing, but there's also changes and decreases, and some things are staying the same, and I'll try to point those out as I go through the study. As you notice, everyone has a base charge. Both commercial and residential are the exact same, so we don't benefit one over the other. Commercial and residential base charges did not change. Actually, they did change a little bit, a few cents for residential and commercial. They went up 50 cents. But a small change in the base rate for small residential, it does increment up, but there is a small base rate change. The biggest change we made in water, again, goes to that conservation factor. It used to have 3,000 to 20,000 was all under one tier. It was all $2.11. We've now created more tiers. Keep in mind, the average user of water is 8,000 gallons. 80% of our customers will benefit from the first tier. So, and as you can see, their rate is not changing. In the out years, 26, 27, 28, 29, there is slight increases, but for next year, we're looking at no rate increase if you're an average user. If you're above average user, what sometimes during the year, you have a lawn, you're going to be an above average user sometimes. But for those, there's now a tier that goes from 8,000 to 12,000, 12,000 to 16,000, 16,000 to 25,000. All of those are showing increases, and they pay accordingly. The user of of the water pays for the water, right? So that's the mentality there. And commercials are the exact same. We didn't treat commercial anything different than residential. Also, there's other fees in water that we have. If you're an industrial user, those are users that actually sell water as part of a product. So these are our ice and water stores that we have around town and around the county that are connected to our system. Their rate is increasing just like everyone else's rate. They just don't get the benefit of a base rate. They automatically pay for every gallon that they use, starting at the first gallon. Fire hydrants, we want to encourage, we have non-potable water at our wastewater treatment plant that is actually free. We want to encourage the use of using non-potable water for construction purposes. People that have fire hydrant meters are people that are usually constructing something. If they're using potable water, that's water that we could use for drinking and other sources. That's a very costly endeavor. It was already $5.15 per 1,000 gallons. It's now going up to $6.03. So again, encouraging conservation. There is other sources. You could get this water from our effluent plant if we have a sufficient capacity. The new thing that we are adding, as we learned from our rate study, people that we wouldn't know unless we actually had a third-party rate study, is multifamily housing. It's becoming more and more prevalent in the desert. There's more and more localities that are adopting this idea that an apartment does not use the same as a single-family home. Everyone, that makes kind of common sense. An apartment doesn't have a front yard, it doesn't have a backyard, it doesn't have a pool, it doesn't have all those amenities, but they share one. But for an apartment, a single apartment, it is a smaller user than a single-family home. So this multifamily rate starts to account for that. So if you own a duplex, all the way up to 160 units, I think is our biggest apartment complex that we have in our system, you will start to be paying a base rate based on the number of units you have. So if you have 160 units, you'll pay $11.15 for each one of those 160 units. We've actually noticed that for most people that are larger, your rate actually goes down for the first year. But as you can see, this does build up over a 5-year period, and they'll be pretty equal to what they're paying now in year 2030. For the smaller duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes, this will be a rate increase, but again, we're trying to account for the idea that individual apartment units have to pay for a certain portion of our water allocation. So this is an idea that we're introducing for the very first time. They don't get a base rate that covers the first 3,000 gallons. They start paying at the very first gallon, and their rate is going up like everyone else's to $2.47.
Mr. Bingham, like the RV park going in on Golf Course Road and 20th, I see individual electric meters, I think. Are they going to have individual water meters?
They actually have one single master meter, so they will be affected by this new multifamily housing.
So whether they don't have meters, but they're still going to be charged.
Correct. We
The
have
base
gone around
rate.
and done a survey of our whole entire system. We've looked at all the multifamily possibilities throughout San Jose, Artesia, Thatcher. We've gone everywhere, and we've accounted for all of them, and we have a good listing, we think, now. So if this bill passes, we will, in December, start charging a multifamily housing rate to those that have what we call a master meter. So not every individual lot there is metered. They have a master meter that serves the whole entire community. And then that's a perfect example of this, that they have no yard, they don't have a pool, they have a shared pool, but again, their use of water is much less, so they'll be paying on a per unit basis, a base charge, and then their gallon usage will be based on their first gallon of use.
Whether the lot's vacated or
Correct.
occupied, there's still a charge.
That's the thing about base fees, is whether you're using or not using, base fees get you for use or non-use, you still pay a base fee. So on every one of these rates, you'll notice that there's a base fee and then there's a usage fee. So we tried to maintain the base fee as small as we could, but the usage fee is where we tried to put a lot of our increases, but in this case, they will see an increase in their base fee. But again, we've done the calculation for some of these, and we actually believe their bill would go down based on prior usage. So this is actually a benefit for the first few years. It gives them a chance to get their legs around it and then figure out what they're going to do with their rent. So keep in mind, Thatcher still pays 10% surcharge based on a settlement that we had with Thatcher, and then anyone in the county that uses our water pays a 25% surcharge. So their rates have already been 10 to 25% higher than the rates that I just showed you. Those rates are for City of Safford residents. One of the things that we were able to change in this rate study is where we were not competitive is capacity fees. You'll notice that there's capacity fees for both water, and when we get to sewer, there's capacity fees there. It was costing almost $6,000 to $7,000 to build a single-family home inside the city limits of Safford, or anytime inside of our system, I guess, if you want to connect to our water. You had to pay this $3,822, and that went up depending on what size meter you went with. So we are trying to be competitive with the co-op, which is our our competitor here, they charge $500 and the initial meter cost, we're doing the exact same as them. We're charging $500 and the initial meter cost. This is basically the schedule from the co-op. So we are in no way differentiating ourselves. In the past, this capacity fee would collect between water and sewer. I think it collected about $400,000. But now with this, we don't believe that we'll be collecting anywhere close to that. So fees would have to cover this change. But this change will make us competitive in the market for why build outside of Safford, please build inside Safford. We can be competitive now. Moving on from water, any questions about water? That's the changes in water. For the most part, as I'm telling you, 80% of our customers will not see an increase in the first year. And then there's slight 50-cent increases thereafter. I guess there's a base fee increase. I keep forgetting about that.
I'm sorry, I got a little confused when you talked about Thatcher and the county. So they're billed based the same way we are in the city. So theirs will go up by 25%?
They already pay 10% more than what the rates I'm showing you here. Add 10% to that, Thatcher pays, and the county pays 25%. The rates have always been like that since we introduced the system outside of our city limits.
So what we're seeing here, theirs will increase by those percentages?
Correct. Whatever increases you're seeing in the city of Safford get duplicated in Thatcher and the county.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions about water? Okay, moving on to sewer. So sewer, as you can see, both commercial and residential are equal. We're actually proposing no increases for this next year, just like we were doing in water for the base and for the small users. So what's changing here is the out years. Our wastewater treatment plant was built 23 years ago. And if you know anything about sewer, it's very caustic and it causes lots of damage to whatever system that it uses it. So our 23-year-old plant has major capital needs over the next 5 years and ongoing. That has to be paid for, and we had to look at that in the rate study. We did capture a lot of money already in our prior rates, but we believe that we need to have subsequent increases in years 26, 27, 28, and 29. But again, commercial and residential look the exact same here. What we would like to point out, there still is, for commercial, not residential, there is what we call these extra strength charges. This was created in 1999 when you built the wastewater treatment plant. We put a multiplier. So when you use a gallon or 1,000 gallons of water, your rate is based on 1,500, depending on what if your multiplier is 150%, you actually have 1,500 gallons of water. So this multiplier allowed us to charge a little bit more to customers. Again, being our commercial customers are paying a little bit more of the sewer. This was to offset two things: the debt that was associated with the wastewater treatment plant, and then it was also to offset the idea of these commercial deduct meters. So if you're a commercial customer, you can actually get your wastewater bill reduced if you're using your water for landscaping or anything that's not going to the sewer. So if you can divert water from the sewer and show that in the form of a deduct meter, we allow you to reduce your water charge based on that. We believe that costs the city about $60,000 a year. So this multiplier that we put on all commercial customers helps pay for that along with the debt. So we believe that that's how we make it a little bit fair for commercial customers. So this is a case where we did step out and started charging our commercial customers more. The other thing you'll notice, there's the capacity fees. There's no meter associated with sewer. It's all based on your water meter usage, as we can see. So there is only the base charge. And again, these are exactly what the co-op has for their capacity fees, $500. So now for a single family home with a 3/4 inch connection, you could pay $1,500 in capacity fees to connect to the city, which is the exact same you'd pay at the co-op. So now we can be competitive. Why not build in Safford?
But the sewer plant is paid for now.
The sewer plant, we still have, I think, 8 years left on the debt service. So there's still a few more years left on that debt service. It was issued in 1999 or 2001, but it had, I think it was a 30-year bond, so through WIFA. So we have a few more years on that.
Okay.
So other things that are also going up, and there is customers outside of the city limits. We actually offer a wastewater line to our federal prison so that the federal prison can be part of our system. That actually is based on not water usage because they don't actually get water from us. So they have a different type of connection. We also have liquid haulers that pick up septic from around the county and bring that to the city. All of those, as you can see, have rate increases just like the residential and commercial customers. In the out years, in years 2026, they'll stay the same for one more year, but then they'll have slight increases, pretty much mirroring what's happening with the residential and commercial customers. And then we do have winter irrigation rates and metered sewers, they're also seeing increases. I didn't bother to put them on here, it's just a lot of the same. So there's slight increases in the out years. What you're seeing for 2026 for the sewer, for the most part, is exactly the same bill you saw in 2025. So no changes in sewers. We're just putting it out there that during this 5 years, there will be changes if we don't meet those fund balance calculations that we have in our models. So now we move on to electrics. Electric's a little bit more complicated. There's not a lot of localities in the state of Arizona that actually get into electric, municipalities. Thatcher is one of them, our neighbors, ourselves, and the city of Mesa. Everybody else is either on SRP or APS for the most part. I guess there is a few like Wilcox and Duncan. But for the most part, we don't have a lot of comparison here. We're kind of on our own. We used to generate our power. I saw pictures all the way up to 1970. I believe we used to generate where the Thrifty building was. There was a generation facility. We ran generators there. So City of Safford was always on its own when it came to electricity, and we still are.
I'm that old.
But keeping that in mind, there's 3 different rates when it comes to electricity. It's important to understand each one of these rates. I'm sure there's a few customers tonight that want to talk about these. So there is what we call a commodity or a PPA charge, a power purchase agreement charge. That's a commodity. So we don't generate electricity like we did in 1970. We got rid of that facility. We have to buy electricity. If you noticed over the last year and a half, your city manager has brought you lots of agreements from SPA. Anytime you talk about SPA, Southwestern Power Purchase Alliance, something like that. What's it complicated? Southwest Public Power Agency. So anytime he's bringing those, we actually have to make sure that we have enough capacity in our purchases to make sure that we don't have brownouts and blackouts, right? So we have gathered up 32.1 megawatts of power from around the city from gas, hydro, which is our dams up in the north, solar, and solar battery is coming in the future. So you just signed a recent agreement for a facility outside of Eloy that they're going to be building solar and solar battery. Gas is one of our biggest, most of our megawatts come from a gas facility plant on the other side of the Phoenix Valley. And that is our major generator. Solar just came on as of June. We brought on our first solar facility outside of Florence, and it generates about a third of what we need during the summer. But solar is always there during the day, but at night, there's nothing available, right? So solar doesn't work at night, but solar with battery can generate power even at the night. But we don't have that facility yet. That's outside of Eloy, and it'll be I think the next year we'll see that, or year and a half.
Generates for about 4 hours.
We haven't seen we're waiting to see how it all works out. But yeah, in electricity, it's a pretty complicated process. Gas is your most fundamental and easiest form of electricity that we have around the state. It's most dependable, you could say. But keep in mind, so we have a $12.1 million budget for electricity. It's our most expensive fund. That's why most localities probably don't run it. It's a lot of money. So we spend $12.1 million a year to operate, keep up with capital, and keep up with, there's no debt service, so it's really just operating capital, right? So $6.5 million of that 2.1, so half, comes from this commodity purchase. So during the rate study, our consultant was very good at this, is they have a model that they were able to generate an average cost per year, because I can't change your rate every month, right? As a customer, you'd be so confused if your rate was one month when we're paying a lot, and when it's not as much, we were paying a little bit less. So we have to come up with a yearly average. So our yearly average is 0.0550. And the reason we can guarantee that out 5 years, as you can see, it slowly increments up, is because we've done those strategic purchases of electricity over time. But that's about 40% of the bill is the commodity charge. So just when you're talking about kilowatt usage, 40% of it is the commodity. The other 60% of your bill is paying for that operations, maintenance, and 5-year capital improvement plan. So when we say paying for the grid, your bill actually pays 60% of that goes towards paying for the grid, right? So if you're a solar customer, you generate power during the day that covers the needs of your home or your business, but at night, you don't generate any power. You're on the grid. So you still use the grid unless you have batteries. There is a few out there that do have batteries. They could be generating a little bit into the night, but for the most part, all of our solar customers are still dependent upon our grid. They're still connected to our grid. And there's times of the year when it's cloudy, when it's rainy today, they're not generating enough probably to cover their home. We only look once a month. We don't check daily to figure out what your credit balance is or what you owe us. We checked on the 20th of every month, we check what your balance is. So we net all of your activity for the month into one calculation of, did you generate power for the month or did you use power for the month? And typically during the summer, as you can see, we we pay the most for electricity because everybody else around the state, this is Arizona, everybody else is looking for power because everybody needs it for air conditioning, right? So when I say I pay 5 cents on average, but during the summer, I'm paying as high as 12 cents to pay for electricity. So that average is completely blown out, but because it's averaged over the year, I only pay 2 cents in the non-summer months. I'm able to average that out to 5 cents does work out, but it all depends on when you're giving me power. So solar, when you're giving it to me when I don't need it, which is the winter or the fall, is I'm paying 2 cents and I'm having to sell that excess 32.1 kilowatts of power. I'm having to sell that on the market because keep in mind that gas plant, they still have to be ready to give me 32.1 when I need it in the summer, but when I don't need it in the winter and the fall, I still have to pay them something. I don't pay them the full price, but the bill is still costly. So giving me power in the winter and summers does not help the city. Giving me power in the summer when I'm buying it at the peak of 12 cents, that helps the city. Not a lot of solar customers, and I can't say everybody because there's 440 of them, but not a lot of solar customers generate enough to generate power to cover their bill in the summer. They're actually using the grid in the summer when I'm paying 12 cents. So how did we come up with this? I guess I'm missing one thing. There's a base charge. So $9 for residential, pumping pay 12, small commercial pay 12, and then large commercial like Walmart pays $50 with a $10 demand, so basically $60. So there is a base fee, there is a kilowatt charge, and that kilowatt charge is divided into two things. As I said, 40% of it is your commodity, 60% of it's the grid. So, and when you give me power is important. If I gave you 40% of the value of that kilowatt, I'd be giving you at a value that I don't really get. So where did we come up with that 25%? It's based on this, that we believe that if the liabilities that we built in our system since we had 100%, let me move on to the next slide, that'll probably help. So moving on to solar, the key word is excess here, right? So when you're generating 1,000 kilowatts and you're using 1,000 kilowatts, you get it at 100%. We're not changing that calculation. If you generate 1,000 kilowatts and you use 1,000 kilowatts in your house for that month, that's still at 100%. The key word here on this slide is excess generation credit. So when you start generating more than what you actually use and you put that out on the grid, we're giving you 25% of that value. And again, that math goes back to what I just talked about. When are you giving it to me? How much am I really paying in the summer? How much am I really paying in the winter and the fall? And then we also assessed a $6 base fee for just solar customers. So they have to pay an electric fee, $9, and then they'll add a $6 base fee for solar. So they'll be paying $15 as a base fee. And again, the base fee is based on whether or not you use or generate, you still have a base fee. And that base fee is based on the fact that there is additional costs associated with solar. There's a meter cost that's more expensive. The meter runs both directions, both credit and debit. And then there's inspection, there's evaluation of your system. Oftentimes we get calls from customers that, hey, my system's telling me I'm generating this much, but the bill is not showing that. We send out our electric department to figure out what's going on. We check your meter. We send it off to a third party for analysis. A lot of these costs generate costs for the city that other customers in the past, when you were giving 100%, were not being paid, right? They were being paid by every other electric customer out there. So solar, as we looked at the rate study, we said there's 440 customers and they need to be paying something. They're not paying, I mean, again, we're giving you value for the credits that you're giving. We're giving you the value of when you generate power. We're giving you 100% of that when you use 100% of that. But when you generate excess, we'll give you 25%, and we're going to charge a base fee of $6, which adds up to $72 a year. I sat down with many a solar customer and gone through their prior 4 years worth of usage. It's all over the board. There's some customers that this will not affect them. They generate so much credit that this will not affect them. But there is some customers that will have to start paying. That in the past, they've always been able to use credits in the winter and the fall to offset their summer credits. Where this 25% might result in them having to pay. The biggest that I've seen is $600 annually. So if you divide that by 12, that's $50 more a month. So when you start looking at the electric bill, which we'll get to a slide at the very end of this, our electric bills are about $150 a month on an average customer. A solar customer might, some of them, I'm not saying all of them, some of them might have to pay $50. So it's because their system isn't as big and robust as other people's systems, but it could cost them a little bit each month. And again, more in the summer months, less in the winter, in the fall. But again, every customer is going to be a little bit different. Again, how do we come up with the 25%? We often talk about the market, right? We talked about one of our things. What's everybody else doing? Like I said, Safford is a small user of electricity. Safford and Thatcher. Thatcher has a program that you'll read their website for hours and try to figure it out, but I believe they limit the capacity of what you can build on your house, so you actually can't generate a lot of credits, and they zero you out annually. So they still give 100%. Thatcher still gives 100%. I hope they watch my presentation tonight. We're in SPA together. They should be the same numbers as us. That if they were doing the same as us, I think our vice mayor asked a really great question about this. If we were giving everybody 100%, would the system go broke? If everybody was on solar, the answer would be yes. You can't give everybody 100%. The system would have nothing to support the grid. So that is a very good comment. But what should it be? If SRP, most of the valley is on SRP, and the rest of the state is on APS. APS is giving 37.5%. SRP is giving 12.4%. The co-op is giving 12.9%. Our neighbors and our competitors. The sulfur, which is Wilcox, is giving 30.4%. So what's the answer? The average looks at 23.3%. We said 25%. So that's where we came up with that. There's a little bit of logic in that, but a lot of it's just where does it all fit? So 25%, this is where we came up with it. It meets the market. It's based on reality. You still have a grid charge. You still use the grid at night when you don't generate. So there is still cost associated with having our grid. With that in mind, so again, this just maps. This is one single year, I think it was 2019. We kind of show the average temperature there in red. And then here's what this is what our system did in 2019. You'll notice the peaks are in the summer. Sorry, I cut off the months in the bottom. The middle is basically January through December. The middle is the summer months. You'll see that's when we're peaking. That's when we're paying that 12 cents an hour, 12 cents a kilowatt hour. But then we also have heat pumps. We have people that aren't on the gas system that run a heat pump in the winter. So you'll notice in the winter even, we're having to pay above market rates because of heat pumps and not gas usage. So given our system and what we know from our system, we think that 25% is what we can afford. Any credits that you've built up so far will be given to you. The value of those are not changing. We're not changing historic credits. Historic credits, if you built up $5,000, we will pay you out $5,000 every June. June is our fiscal year. We want to get this off our books, so we're not showing a liability of having to pay this. We believe we have about a $200,000 liability right now, and that we'd have to pay off from all of our solar customers and the credits that they generated. So we believe we can afford 25%, will allow us to pay cash every June for whatever excess credits you have coming to June 30th based on July through June. We believe this is the fairest and most equitable program we can come up with. Again, you'll probably hear differently tonight. So moving on, solar, electric, any other questions from you guys? Councilmember Brenner?
Is there a way that we could do maybe January 1 to December 31, do the calendar year for the customers? That way it's easier for them to track?
I would hesitate to say that because sewer, one of the things I didn't point out is we do a winter calculation. I don't want to, I mean, that's a heavy load for us. All 4,000 customers have to get a calculation of what their sewer bill based on their winter average. That's a busy time of year for us also. There's other things that are due. I think June works out better for our financial statements. I'd still have to carry some sort of balance if I did it in the December timeframe. Again, not the end of the world. We could work with it. I believe still June is still better. As your finance director, I'm telling you June. So, and it's when you come into the months of if you have to pay in the summer, the best thing to have would be cash, right? If you have credits, we're going to give you cash, and you can use that cash to pay your bill. Some people will have such large credits they could probably pay their bill for the next 7 years. This summer. I hope they don't spend it, but there is people that will have that kind of payment. All right? Any other questions? Not from you.
Point of order, Mayor. To the audience that's here, you'll have your turn to ask questions during the public hearing. At this moment, it's staff doing the presentation along with the questions from the council.
Yeah, I think that if I didn't cover it, we are buying out your credits, even the prehistoric ones, the ones you've had prior to this rate change. Whatever you built up on your account, you'll keep. You'll just start earning less as of December if this passes. Any other questions? Solar, electric, in general? We'll skip on. So gas, this is one of the ones that we just structurally, we were not really prepared for this one as we went through the rate study. Just a lot of complications. We were overcharging you in your commodity charge in the past, and we were using that to cover some of the base. So this rate study allows us to correct that. So you'll notice The commodity charge, what we buy gas from El Paso Gas, is going from $4.10 per resident down to $3.75. But that's also being offset by, we're actually charging a bigger base fee, so that's going up $1.80. So, and then the delivery charge is going up 61 cents. And that goes up over time. The cost of gas personnel and the cost of their capital is increasing. It is a smaller system. Like I said, 3,500 customers have to share all the costs of this system. The fund balance on this system wasn't as robust as our other fund balances. So they were a little bit behind the 8 ball. So you're going to see your biggest increases for our gas customers. But again, not every customer in the city of Safford is a gas customer. There's a few customers outside the city. They're few and far between. There's a few roads that we do on the west side of town, or the east side of town, sorry, east.
You didn't show some comparisons like you did the other slide with the neighbors.
It is in our slides that we presented in June. Sorry, we focus more on solar for that. But again, we are still cheaper than our neighbors. Our Southwest Gas charges a lot more than what these rates are. So we still try to be competitive when it comes to gas. And we believe we still are. So we're still running a very efficient and valuable system. It just has to see a lot of increases because we didn't really keep up with them over time. So gas is probably your biggest adjustment that we needed to make. But as you can see, it's $1.80 and then 60 cents on the MCF charge, which I think is complicated.
Are capacity fees apply to this?
No capacity fees for gas or electric.
No.
You join, we appreciate your joining. We want all gas customers. Like I pointed out for the electricity system, this takes that load off of when you buy instead of a heat pump, you buy a gas furnace. That helps our electric system not have to purchase in the winter. So we encourage gas usage. We actually give rebates. We try to encourage you to really purchase gas because it does help our system level out as far as who's having to pay what. So we encourage more gas customers.
Do the neighbors have capacity fees?
Southwest Gas, I do not know. They are just starting in the business, so I don't. Have you seen? Are you implying you know something I don't know?
Well, I want to be more competitive than the neighbors. I was hoping to see it.
My understanding is no. There is no capacity fee from Southwest Gas, but our fees are cheaper. So if you join our gas system, it is more beneficial. That's, I guess, all of these utilities. We go through all this. The benefit of having all this under one municipality, we're able to control this. We don't have the Corporation Commission telling us what we do and don't have to pay. We're able to control this as a council, and for our citizens, I think we're doing the best in the state. There's nobody else that's seeing the small rate increases that we're seeing here. You have to look around the state that there's a lot bigger increases than what we're seeing in the city of Safford. So if anything, we've done a great job here of keeping the costs down for our citizens as compared to other localities. So again, a feather in our cap. Again, you're gonna see those increases in gas for small commercial, medium commercial, and large gas customers. It's basically the same for each one of them, but it is a pretty substantial increase as you get down to those large commercial. They're going from $4.30 per MFC to $5.71. So that would be your McDonald's and things like that. They're the big gas users if they're actually using gas to cook. It's hard to say. All right, any questions about gas? That is one of your bigger increases.
Troy, can you just tell us a little bit about what would happen if Texas froze up again this winter? What have we got built in there?
So yeah, one of the things we don't talk about in gas is we actually have a stabilization fund set up. So we actually set aside some of our fund balance for a stabilization. So if we did see like that gas spike that happened in January of 2023, I believe, that caused our electricity rates to go up. Remember, electricity is generated from gas, but it also caused these customers to see would have been massive increases, but the city had built up a stabilization fund that we were able to use that one-time money to cover that. It was like $1 million increase all at once. I mean, it's like 1 month was the whole year at once. So we had that still built in, and electric, I didn't cover that under electricity. We are actually building up that same stabilization fund there so they don't see rate increases all of a sudden whenever we get hit with the large gas bill. So we are protecting ourselves from those commodity spikes that we have seen in the past.
So we absorbed it.
We absorbed it because the customers had paid extra over time. So you have to thank the prior generations that set aside and thought about that future. They saved us all. I wasn't here, but they saved us. All right, moving on. Any more questions? Those are good. Thank you for bringing up the stabilization funds. I totally skipped over those. Landfill tiering. So this is one of the things that we looked at. The city of Safford only uses 20% of our municipal landfill. The rest of it goes for everybody else in the county and everybody else even outside the county at one time. So we looked at it, and we looked at one of the accounting calculations for what we call post-closure. We have to take care of this landfill. Even 30 years after we stopped collecting money to put from trash to go in this landfill, so the landfill is full, we have to still make sure that this is covered for the next 30 years, which means making sure there's not weeds growing on it, making sure it's collecting gas properly, it's not creating a bomb underneath the ground. So that responsibility falls on the city of Safford. So we're asking ourselves, what benefits does the city of Safford get from running a municipal facility for the whole entire county? So one of the things we wanted to correct here, and this $25, you'll notice, also helps when we get to sanitation, is depending on how much we charge ourselves, it affects our sanitation account, because those that do residential dumping and commercial dumping with us have to pay this fee. All of our funds, if you use another service, so if electricity uses gas, we make sure that each fund is paying its rightful share. No one gets a free ride. So sanitation is a big user, as 20% of this landfill. This reduction in charge that we believe we can afford, because we built up the capacity in this fund, would allow City of Safford residents to continue to receive two things. You receive free bulk pickup in front of your house, and your additional dumpster is not a massive increased charge. Because we're still offering those services, which the council voted on in June to continue, there's a certain way we can get to that. And the way we do that is through reducing the actual cost for us to dump at the landfill. So you still get your one free dump at the landfill for $25. And again, what you don't realize here is most people can't fit a ton of garbage in the back of a half-ton pickup, right? So the minimum charge of $15 is what most people used to see as $12.50. That still is $15 across the board. But for a City of Safford resident, you actually get more pounds than a Thatcher or a county resident, because our calculation is based on the $25 rate. So City of Safford will get a larger load that's still free, and the minimum is still $15. You can get a larger load for $15, and the rate is only going up for everybody else, Thatcher and the county, 50 cents. So we went from $52.50 to $53, and that was really just me saying we should get out of the change business, because it's a lot of change out there. So we wanted to get to whole dollars, and we believe we can do that with this rate. One of the things we wanted to stop was out of county. Sometimes our out of county neighbors would do calculations of transportation costs, and they would figure out the best place to dump it was still our landfill. We were still the cheapest around. So we want to stop that no one brings their trash. It's our air, it's our capacity, and we want to be able to use that till 2044 and beyond. So we wanted to make sure that out of county got a higher rate, so that discourages that calculation. So don't bring us your trash from wherever, Pima County or Greenlee. I point that out, Greenlee County. But yes, you'll see increases across the board here for all those things. We tried to clarify some of these rates for the landfill. If you're bringing an appliance with a refrigerator or not, all those are seeing some are seeing rate increases, some are seeing decreases. For the most part, we don't do any calculations. We don't depend on this budgetarily. These are just fees we charge. They generate so little that it doesn't really do much for our overall fund balance. The real rate comes in the form of daily dumps from haulers. So Vista is one of our biggest customers, and then the City of Thatcher, or Town of Thatcher. Any questions about this? This is a big change. We're getting 50% less than our neighbors.
On refrigerators or appliances, for example, you can bring them whether they have gas in them or not, and we take out the refrigerant ourselves there on site. We offer that service.
I'm gonna have to phone a friend. He's waving yes.
Yes. So if you bring your refrigerator, we'll take it, because we used to not take it unless you drained it, but we take it now.
I phoned a friend, he's coming.
Okay.
If you look at your rate structure, we still take them with refrigerant, it's $30, and without, it's $20. So it's still offered as a service.
And that we did because we didn't want to see them all over the river and in
Correct.
different places.
Correct.
All right. So any questions about the landfill? The landfill kind of plays into our next fund, sanitation. So sanitation, again, we're seeing a small increase in sanitation. $19.86 is our current rate. It would go up to $21. That is the best we can do. The reason we were able to even offer that low is because of that $25 landfill fee. Again, the sanitation department pays about $300,000 to $400,000 a year to the landfill for dumping trash at the landfill. It also pays for our free dump days, all that charges. So the best we could keep, the way that we keep the sanitation rate down was by keeping the landfill rate down. Those things are interplay with one another. But again, we were able to keep, per the council's direction, one bulk pickup, and the monthly residential collection was able to stay with one extra cart fee the exact same. So very small changes here. Again, a little bit higher than, this is one where Thatcher somehow is able to do it cheaper than us. We don't know how. They're at 19 something, so they're able to keep their rates a little bit, but maybe they haven't factored in our new landfill charges for them, so that 50 cents might hurt them. But $21 is still competitive, and when we get to commercial, this is the biggest thing. We noticed a lot of disparity. I mean, we were basically subsidizing commercial. So where in sewer, we were taking advantage of our commercial customers. In when it came to trash pickup, we were subsidizing it. So we tried to correct a lot of that. You're gonna see the mid-size, it's based on how many times you get picked up, either 1 time a week, 2 times a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, or 5 times a week. And then it's based on the size. Those 2 cubic yard, 300 gallon, we were really subsidizing those as you see through the chart, and those were the biggest increases are. And so we use this rate study as a chance to unsubsidize those, but still trying to be competitive with Vista. We are still cheaper than Vista. So as a commercial customer, you don't have to use the city of Safford, unless you're the downtown, you have to. But outside of that, any other commercial customer could choose Vista, and we are still competitively lower than Vista with these rates. So nothing that we changed here is outside of what Vista would be charging. It's just, I think one of the things that were kind of forgotten over time was we were subsidizing our mid-sized dumpsters. The bigger dumpsters were fine, the smaller dumpsters were fine, it's the mid-size that we needed to fix. And that's where you're gonna see your biggest increases. So I encourage anyone to look at this chart and make sense of it, but it's based on number of times a week and size of dumpster, right? And you will see gradual increases over time because we need to get those up to stop that subsidy. It's not happening in 2026, it's gonna take till 2030 to get that unsubsidized. So with that in mind, here's the piece de resistance, right? So what are we doing for our customers in 2026? What's gonna happen in November, possibly? What we're looking at for the city of Safford, if you're a city of Safford and you take all of these services, again, gas is optional. Some customers won't have that gas charge, so they'll actually be making, as you can see, $6.73 less than what you paid last year per month. So we are actually charging you less in this rate study, but there is places where we're charging you more. And if you don't have gas, you can make up $8, $9 less than you paid in last year. That isn't the story over the rate study, which is 27, 28, 29, 30. There will be increases, but for the next year, we believe that if you are a small average user, your bill will actually go down. And so tonight, the biggest effects are, again, if you're a solar customer, this is where I talked about, our electric customers currently pay about $137. The electric rate was going down for all customers. We were able to fix that equity, and electric will actually be down for the first 2 years, and then you won't see increases until years 3, 4, and 5. But that $126 customer, if they have solar, they might have to add an additional $50 to that. Like I said, every customer is different. Every solar system is different. The city did not figure out with every customer exactly what size solar system. They decided that based on their financial truth. So every customer has a different situation. So there's 440 of them, and they are a small portion. I guess that's what, 10% of our system. It has solar. So it is a thought to pass by. But again, what we're saying here, it's going down. So when we say a rate increase, it's only because certain rates had to go up. So if you're in one of those situations like a commercial customer for sanitation, your rate's going up, right? But for the most part, if you're not one of those customers, your rate's gonna go down. All right, again, these are the goals of a rate study. We feel like we've made them. We evaluated financial sufficiency. We believe that these rates will get us through the next 5 years. Again, we're gonna check every year. There's certain fund balance calculations in those rates that we need to be at or above. If we're above it, then we don't need to do a rate increase. If we're at it or below it, we probably need to either implement the rate increase or implement more of a rate increase, which would require another informing the public, doing the same sort of session here. But for some of these, it's all gonna be based on that fund balance calculation. So fairness and equity. We tried to talk about residential, commercial. We tried to talk about who was paying, who wasn't paying, right? We tried to cover that in the rate study. We planned for the future. I talked about $80 million of capital. Operations is ongoing every year. 70% of it's payroll. We have staff that need to be paid. We have small commodities that they buy, but $80 million, which is bigger than any of the budgets, is mostly capital. So what we're building is building for the future. You have pipe in the ground in your water system that is from the Depression. So we have 90-year-old pipe that the industry is telling us that the oldest pipe you should have is 50 years. So we're behind the 8 ball. We're borrowing in the water fund to try to get as many capital projects to get that 1930s pipe out of the ground. What does 1930s pipe do for you? You're going to have leaks. You're going to lose some of your water into the ground. So if you replace pipe in a cyclical and a annual manner, then you can mitigate the amount of loss that you have in your water system. So same thing with your gas system. You've got pipe that has been aging since the 70s. You have electric system. All of this stuff has been kicked down the road. The can has been kicked. We're trying to unkick the can for the next 5 years. We're trying to make sure we have the money, and then we're going to talk about making sure we have the capacity and the staff to do it. But we need to get to these things, and we need to be able to afford them. And then, provided an unbiased, hopefully you see from the data here that these are needed. These fee increases and fee decreases are needed to be competitive and/or to be financially stable through the next 5 years. And then, did we encourage conservation? We believe that charging people is the best way to encourage conservation. We believe we've done that in the water system. For the gas and electric department, conservation is a little bit different there. No matter what you need, we buy it for it. So, but for water, we believe that conservation rates will definitely help us mitigate the amount of water that we're giving. With that in mind, I turn it back over to the mayor and council. Any questions I can answer?
Anybody have any questions or comments?
City manager has a comment.
Go ahead.
I just want to make a couple of comments. That's a lot of information. And we have been working with the council on this for quite a while and the consultant. So there are a few points I want to go over. And the finance director mentioned the fact that there are levers that get pulled at times when you put these rates together because it's a lot of customers. There are a lot of versions. It's extraordinarily complicated, which is why we use a consultant to help us do the work. But some of those levers were the following. At council direction, we looked at capacity fees, and the direction that we got on capacity fees was to lower them. We did that. At council direction, we were asked to look at the solar program. And when we did that, we found that our program was far outside of any industry standard. So we brought you a solar program. We addressed that council request. The other request we had from council was to protect those at the lowest levels of the rate structure. We did that, and we made sure that those rates at the bottom were left almost intact to what they currently are. And we also, on our own, worked with the consultant to use fund balance to minimize the level of the rates. So the rate consultant had give us some rates. I went back with Troy. We looked at what they did, and there was some capacity in the fund balances. So we did use fund balance to bring those rates down even more. And then finally, I would want you to consider what today in 2025 is the same price as it was in 2018, because that's the last time the rates for your utilities were increased. So again, I wanted to kind of discuss those levers in that higher level. We didn't do this in a vacuum. It was a long process. We worked with you, and we pretty much addressed all the issues that were requested of us. So I just wanted to close with that.
Thank you. Thank you, Troy.
Thank you.
Okay, well,
So-
Question?
So you're going to bring this back annually so we can decide how it's going, see how it's going before anything moves forward or backwards?
So I want to make it clear. So we've proposed rates in here. If we're less than those rates, we don't need to come back and do a public hearing. We've built capacity in this rate study that we've presented today. So if our fund balance, like I said, comes in over or at where it's at, we might not make that increase, right? But if it comes in below or even at, we might want to implement the rate increase that we're proposing in this, and we've already done the public hearing to do that for the next 5 years. If the rate needs to be even higher than what we proposed here, that we'd have to come back and do another public hearing and talk about why that's the case. But for the most part, we believe that if our fund balance come in the way that they're calculated here, we will see these slight increases in the out years.
And we increase the amount of time we can pay on the landfill by going vertical. That increased a lot of years where we can gain time to pay off on the end of it when we have to monitor it
I think the
forever.
biggest thing came from a miscalculation that we did in the past, that we showed a higher requirement for post-closure than we needed. We only needed $3 million. We had $7 million saved up. So we're able to use some of that to cover some of our rate decreases that we're seeing. So that's where in the case the city manager talks about we use fund balance. Since we didn't need it for post-closure, we were able to set aside post-closure funds and then decrease the rate using that miscalculation. So it's more of an accounting error. But yeah, you're right. We are talking about expanding the landfill. There's vertical that we can take advantage of. There's slopes that we can take advantage of. So the landfill is a moving target. We are trying to do a study right now to figure out what that post-closure cost should be and what it could be with that new expansion. So that's all up in the air. Those are things that could change over the next 5 years.
Because I believe the landfill's the only one is in the red. Or,
It was in the red, but if you look at the new financial statements, we broke even almost because of that miscalculation. So
it sounds like government miscalculation.
it was a play with numbers, but again, because we had that excess capacity, we're able to set aside post-closure. I was able to invest funds from our landfill. That investing allowed us to not charge a post-closure fee anymore. You'll notice that the 5250 was actually two different fees. It was a base charge plus a post-closure charge. We're able to just say it's all just a base charge now. The post-closure is covered by us having that capacity built up. So we did some smart things, even though it was the bad accounting, but it helped us beneficial. It was beneficial in the end, I guess you could say.
Well, I agree with you on the water pipe and the age of it. That's been going on for quite some time. But the rest of the enterprises have been doing good, keeping up and staying, like the electrical department, the majority of their poles are new. Their conductor that's in the air is new. It's been like 10 years that they've been working on it to bring it up, so to make sure it's in good shape. And I get a feeling like there's a scare tactic when I see it on TV, but for the most part, we're in good shape and we want to stay that way.
Yes, for the
And
most part.
electric's actually going down, so it
Yes.
probably reflects to some degree. But there are some large expenditures, as you know, like the substation that will probably need a redundancy there for backup. So again, these fluctuations in the capital projects have a big impact on the rates, and so capital kind of fluctuates over time, which you know.
Yeah, my biggest concerns are our water and wastewater. Again, we've let those age past their time. And there is things that our 5-year CIP, I hope you guys, when we go through the budget process, really pay attention to what we're putting into water and wastewater, because we're behind on that one. I can officially say we're behind.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else?
Okay, any other questions? Thank you.
We'll do it. Thank you, Troy. Okay, we'll move on to we'll close our regular meeting and go into our public hearing. That's item number 10. A public hearing as required by Arizona Revised Statute Section 9-499.15 and 9-511.01. A public hearing will be held for the purpose of hearing comments from the public on the following items. Number 1, proposed rate change for fees in landfill, sanitation, water, wastewater, gas, and electricity. And I would like to ask that anybody that speaks holds it to 3 minutes. And the public, let the person speaking do the speaking. And our city clerk will be calling the people up that have submitted their names.
Mayor, thank you. Before we proceed, I did have a question from one of the audience members asking if someone would like to give their 3 minutes during the public hearing to someone else to use for a total of 6 minutes, if that would be allowed, and it would be up to mayor discretion at that point.
No, 3 minutes per individual.
Thank you. All right, as we call you up, as mayor has asked, please make sure you state your first and last name. You get 3 minutes. It'll be on the timer on the screen. And may I please ask for the public comment in the audience to remain low, just because of recording, and make sure we give the person speaking during the public hearing their full 3 minutes. To begin, we have Sarah Hott. Okay, Sarah Hott does not want to speak. We have Mary Bingham.
Mary Bingham. I live at 2006 West 18th Street in Safford. We installed our solar back in February of 2018, and had we known that this was going to be a possibility, we wouldn't have gone down that road.
with our solar panels. We wouldn't have financed $26,000 to install those. And there are a lot of people out here that are still paying on their solar panels. I believe the city should grandfather those customers who already have had their solar in, and at the same rate we were giving to incentivize us to sign up for the solar. I served for 6.5 years as a council member with the city of Safford. 6.5 of those years was with Mayor Ortega as a councilman. 4.5 was with Councilman Lopez. And I can confidently say that the council that I served with, the majority of them would have agreed with me. The city, at that time, in good faith, and us as customers in good faith, signed up for a program that now you're changing. And I don't think that's right. I think this city council should step up and protect its customers, those customers that signed up for what we signed up for. And now you're changing the rules. There were those rules, now you're changing them. And I don't think that's right. And so I will close, actually, that's all I had to say. I was going to give my time to Michael Romney, who knows a lot more about this than I do. That last presentation was very confusing. You need to speak slower. Good night. Anyway, but I would suggest to everybody in this room that they come in 2 weeks to see how the council's going to vote, what they're going to vote on. Don't just leave it up to tonight. Come back in 2 weeks. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mayor, next we have Michael Romney.
Michael Romney, 1805 West Thatcher Boulevard in Safford. I have solar on my business in Safford. I am also one of the owners of Eastern Arizona Solar, a local solar company. I've worked in the solar industry for 13 years, and I have worked with 6 different utility companies while they changed their solar rates and structures. I have personally met with the city of Safford officials about the rate changes, and they responded to me quickly and courteously, and gave me the information I needed to understand the proposed solar changes very well, and I thank them for that. The last meeting there was where these changes were discussed, some false statements were made by a council member. It was said that no utility gives dollar for dollar net metering anymore. That is not true. The town of Thatcher, right next door to us, gives dollar for dollar net metering, as Troy mentioned earlier. Also, Graham County Electric still gives dollar for dollar net metering for those who signed up for it. They grandfathered in the customers on the rate plan they signed up for. SRP and APS, who are the 2 largest utility companies in Arizona, also still provide dollar for dollar net metering for all their customers who signed up for it. It's true that they no longer provide dollar for dollar net metering for the new customers who want to go solar, but everyone who signed up for it still has it. The Arizona Corporation Commission is an elected council that governs these large utility companies, and they look out for the people's best interest. They have always made sure that existing solar customers are grandfathered in on the plans they signed up for because that's the right thing to do. The city of Safford is not governed by the Corporation Commission, so we don't have that protection. If we did, there would be no question that all these customers would be grandfathered in on the plan they signed up for, which is dollar for dollar net metering. Instead, we are relying on the city council to look out for our best interests, and it's in your hands to make the decision to grandfather solar customers in or not. And you guys have that authority and ability. NV Energy is an electric utility in Las Vegas. In 2016, they tried to change existing solar customers' plans without grandfathering. They were sued and lost that lawsuit and had to grandfather in all customers anyway. If this decision is not grandfathered, does not grandfather existing customers here, I can see a similar situation and potential result. Why is it such a big deal for the rate structure for solar customers? The reason is that the solar array was specifically designed for each customer based on the customer's usage and the utility rate structure for solar. These systems cost anywhere from $15,000 to $70,000 depending on the usage. Most customers take out a loan to get their solar, and the installed monthly payments are typically 25% less than a current electric bill from City of Safford. So by making those changes, they lose all their savings. And they rely on the first 5 months of the year to build credits in order to
Mayor, that's 3
take
minutes.
advantage of their solar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robney. Next, we have Jeff Brown.
I'm Jeff Brown. I live at 2039 West Relation Street in Safford. I was going to give my time to Michael, but he's the guru of the solar. Michael and I work for the same company, EA Solar, and I also work for Gila Electric, who's been around since 1996. Just to continue on what Michael was saying, the new solar rate and structure is not the worst I have seen. People will still be able to install solar and have some financial benefit for it. Solar companies can use the new rates and rules and design a great system that will cover about 60% of their home's electricity. So for new customers that want to go solar, it is a fair structure, but it's not fair at all to force a customer who already has solar and whose system was designed for the original rates and rules to switch to the new rules. Had they known the rules would change on them, they would have either not gone solar or they would have bought 40% less solar panels. Raising the base rate. Also, last meeting, there was some false information said about reasons for the base rate going up for solar customers. It was said that solar requires 2 meters from the city. That is not true. The city only requires 1 meter to be on the house. It was also said that it would cost more money to read those 2 meters on the house when they send someone to read the meters. That is false. The city doesn't send anyone to read the meters anymore. They're all smart meters, and they send them usage information electronically every month. They upgraded the meter several years ago so that they can avoid having to send somebody to each house. So I don't agree with an added cost for the base fee for solar customers. I hope that all of you take the time to really understand what these changes will do to existing solar customers. I'm willing to sit down with each one of you individually or as a group to discuss this important change. I know a few of you, and I do believe you have the best interest of the people here in Safford. The reason I am here is to help fight for all the solar customers that have installed over the past 8 years in Safford. I would feel terrible for everyone and somewhat responsible if I didn't get up and at least let my voice be heard in their defense. It's in your hands now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have John Anderson.
Good evening. My name is John Anderson. I live at 650 West 24th Street. I'm going to have to skip a lot of what I said because it'd just be repeat here, or what I had to say. But I do agree with those who say that I would not have installed my solar panels if I knew the rate was going to change to 25%. The 75% is technically a tax on the electricity I generate, on the equipment I bought for my house to supply my own electricity, and with an agreement that I would get it back when I needed it. And now I'll only get part of it back when I need it. I would like to see things, I would indeed like to see the grandfathering in, like everyone else has talked about. And someone mentioned having the solar credits return at the end of the year. I would suggest actually fall or spring for return of solar credits so that during the peak season in the summer, people have their solar credits to use rather than I guess it won't make a lot of difference to me. I had, Mr. Bingham was nice enough to give me a side-by-side on my previous year's solar bills, and I would have only had, with the new rate increase, changes, I would only have my highest credit would have been $14.01 for a month, and my lowest credit would have been a mere 33 cents, and only 4 months where I would have generated a credit, whereas previous year I had 6 months where I generated a credit, and it was enough to carry me through the year. I should also point out that the citizens who have installed solar panels on their homes were looking ahead, and in addition to cheaper electricity for themselves, they regularly generate extra electricity during peak usage hours when Mr. Bingham said it is the most expensive to buy the electricity elsewhere. So that helped to keep everyone's electric bills lower for the time they've done that. If you were to go through with the 75% rate, my solar panels will never pay for themselves, not based on the usage, the life expectancy of the panels. And mostly, I guess I'd say that the people who were forward-looking and took things into their hands own hands should not be punished for looking forward and trying to do things that improve themselves and help the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ed Ragland.
I'm Ed Ragland, 809 West 16th Street. Thank you. Good evening to Mayor, Council, Manager, City Clerk. Thank you for all you do. And I would like to express my appreciation for the opportunity to give you some of my concerns here. I'm surely hoping it won't be a test after this is all over, guys. Thank you. I know what you're going through. I did it about 27 years. And yeah, so I've got my heart's in there. My big concern is the water. And water seems to have been a problem for many years. I know we charge different rates to different municipalities and counties and what have you. Years ago, Scottsdale, and I'm just trying to remember some of the things. I know rules have changed and laws have changed, but Scottsdale years ago had its own limit on what you could use with water without really getting charged. And they didn't care if you used it on front yard, backyard, whatever, but you used so much water and that was it, or you got it socked to you. I do understand, though, that you do have a water attorney, which is interesting and good. Years ago, I can remember we as a council did not allow a butcher shop going across the river to be built because of the heavy water usage. And I wonder, where are we today? I remember they used to come and talk to us before they built the facility. And we knew, okay, yeah, we can provide water for that, or we can't provide water for that. And I'm not sure if that's still going on or not. The wastewater treatment plant, I was here when that was built, and the one thing they told us is it was going to be one step away from being able to produce drinking water when it was done. So yeah, I'm not sure why we aren't looking for that to be able to make that drinking water. I know water conservation is the big one, but I see options for everything else. It's the water. I don't know what you're going to do when you run out of that. Mr. Lopez, I'd like to thank you for your questioning and making sure that we all understand what's going on here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have Paul David.
Good evening, Paul David, 953 West 16th Street in Safford. Thank you very much for the opportunity to address you. I wanted to start off saying that I, as a city as a resident of the city of Safford, there are very many positive things going on. And streets are clean, our utilities are taken good care of, outages are brief. We know that it's not going to be tomorrow. Someone's out there in the rain and in the wind taking care of things. So thank you very much, and appreciate in attending the meetings the progress that the city of Safford's made. I have a couple of comments, a suggestion, and some concerns. First of all, I would just mention that I'm concerned that by doing away with the impact fees, which would be borne by the builders and eventually the new customers, by doing away with that and then having the ratepayers for the utilities pick that up. In essence, that's subsidizing, having the ratepayers, the utility users, subsidize new growth. And I think that the new growth ought to pay for itself, even if other communities are subsidizing and lowering their impact fees. I think that impact fees are important, and I bristle at having to pay, especially when I'm not necessarily anti-growth, but I'm not ready to live in Sierra Vista. The second is the assumptions in some of the budgeting that were made. The $80 million capital improvement projects over 5 years, that we have to raise these rates to raise $80 million. I would wonder if the wants versus needs have been carefully looked at, and if you might want to put the brake on because of you don't always get what you need, or get what you want, but you get what you need usually. And I'm also concerned about the budgetary lines that say transfers, and again, those that's not exactly transparent. It just means you're moving money from somewhere to somewhere else and using that to justify the rate increase. I'm not suggesting anything nefarious, but it's just not clear. And as far as the solar net metering, I would continue to advocate for people being grandfathered in, and then to help our solar industry, I would like to suggest that the city consider paying the new solar customers the same amount that they pay their wholesale suppliers, and have that create a little more self-reliance here in the valley. And finally, low-income people.
Mr. David, that's time. It's 3 minutes.
Okay, that's enough low-income people. Thank you.
Next, we have Ron Tolman.
I seem like I can't talk very good tonight because I'm freezing right to death. I should have worn a long sleeve shirt.
Thank
you. First of all, let me just say that I appreciate very much.
Mr. Tolman, if you could please state your first and last name and your address, please.
I'm Ron Tolman, 2330 South First Avenue, Safford. Excuse me for overlooking that. Anyway, what I'm saying is I appreciate the city employees, the city manager, Mr. Bingham, the finance manager. I bothered them probably more than I should have with questions about this rate study, and they were kind and considerate and patient in talking to me and giving me the time that I needed. So thank you, and thank you wherever you went, Mr. Bingham. Just a couple of comments along the same type of thing as what's already been said. Seemed to me that when the rate that was proposed came in, it's a 78.5% reduction from what we have been seeing. Based on what I've been able to understand from Mr. Bingham, the consultant's estimate of the cost, the wholesale cost to the city for power is 5.5 cents per kilowatt. It seems to be unusual the city would want to pay the people who are generating solar energy right here half that. I would think it was a base that should at least be that much. There are several comments in the information was put together. The general policy objectives are to reduce stress grid, to increase renewable energy adoption, to stimulate the local interest, local solar industry. Talked about the the burden of the finance balances that are on the books for solar credits. I would suggest there are none. The information I have says the city will not pay out that money. They never paid me in 20 years for what I have said anything like that. So I think that's information that I don't see the basis for. And I'm going to skip a good part of what I had here because I want to go to a particular document. When I put in my last solar system, I put some in about 20 years ago. I put some more in 10 years ago. And when I did, I was asked to sign this document, the city document. My signature's on Exhibit A that goes with it, Resolution 10-024. And I have here an invoice for my solar system, $167,000 on the basis of this document that the city.
3 minutes are up.
That the city had me sign. I would think that we would go.
Mr. Tolman, the 3 minutes is up, unfortunately. Sorry. Next, we have Cynthia Woodman.
This one?
Thank you, Mr. Tolman.
My name's Cindy Woodman, 1305 Central Avenue. I moved here in 1973, so I've seen a lot in this community. And, you know, when my mom passed away 4.5 years ago, I thought, I'm becoming my mom. But no, I'm becoming my dad. And I don't have any skin in the game. I don't have any solar panels. But like my father, I believe in fighting a fight if it's right. Whether I care for you or not, I have your back if it's the right fight. My dad was one of those that was adamant about the city of Safford utilities being converted to Gila Resources. And it happened. I would hate to see that happen again. And in this response, and what happened to Gila Resources? It became City of Safford Utilities again because it was deemed illegal. And my dad sat up a lot of nights until 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning doing his homework to realize that it was illegal. The city of Safford is now considering changing the rules for people who have solar panels in the middle of the game. That's wrong. And as a city of Safford citizen who's paying taxes, I don't want to pay the legal fees because this council has decided to change the rules. People who have paid for these solar panels should receive what they were told when they purchased those panels. So, you know, I wasn't going to take all 3 minutes, but just because something is legal doesn't make it right. And just because this city council can, doesn't mean that it should. And I think that that's something that you have to consider for the next 2 weeks. Just something that I would, there's a lot of people who have solar panels, and there are a lot of folks in the city limits that are on Social Security. Just consider that.
Next, we have Thomas Blake.
Thomas Blake, 1710 South First Avenue, Safford. Mayor, council members, I too am a solar customer. When I purchased my solar panels, I did extensive calculations to make sure that during the summer months, I generated enough income to pay for those panels in the months that I'm not generating electricity during the winter months, or during the winter months when I produce more to cover the summer months when I'm a little shy on what I'm producing. And like many in this room, I invested thousands of dollars in that I'm not going to recuperate because the rules have changed. So I'm with everyone else. I think we should be grandfathered in. 440 customers isn't very much. I calculated it up. If you take out the $6 from me, I'm fine with that. But you're looking at $44 for 440 people. If it's an extra $50 and you're taking the $44, that's less than $20,000 a month. It's not going to destroy your pocketbook. So I'm with everyone else. I think that existing customers should be grandfathered in and look for what we can do to encourage investment in solar going forward, because we can't always count on there's going to be gas to generate it or whatever the case may be. It's good to have a good fair number of people producing the electricity to help support the grid. And so I appreciate your time and hearing us out on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Jeff Gott.
My name is Jeff Gott. I live at 1935 South 2nd Avenue here in Safford. Mayor, council, I appreciate you hearing us on this. I fully appreciate the transparency that this was all in our bills and everything, so we were all made fully aware, and all the detail that Mr. Bingham shared with us was available for us to look through. I'm going to speak briefly on this at a little bit higher a level of principle. Every one of us has been, over the last period of time, in shock at the grocery store, at the gas pump, at the big box stores, basically everything on the inflationary environment we've been in, and trying to make what we have as income meet our needs. So I'm really speaking out of that set of principles. I'm on a fixed income, and so I'm really representing fixed income citizens of Safford. Over the past period of time, from the government side of things, we all embraced a jail sales tax, which was substantial and is for a lengthy period of time. I always attend the truth and taxation hearings at all the local entities when that cycle is going on every year, speaking on behalf of fixed income citizens. This last year, every one of those entities voted for the proposed taxation, and my property taxes went up about 23%, about $300 a year. So substantial changes there. And now we're looking at rate study and potential utility increases. I was very curious at Mr. Lopez's question at the very end of the normal meeting about whether this rate increase is just this first year, as Mr. Bingham talked a lot about the changes in 26 versus the study, which was the full 5-year study. I did my analysis and looked at it as a 5-year rate plan. So we'll see what you all vote for and what happens. But when I looked at that on a real generalized basis across those 5 years, both the base fees and the consumption fees, with the exception of electricity, appeared to have, give or take, around a 4% increase, which would lead to about a 20% increase overall in utility rates over that 5-year period. Just as a matter of interest, I know our Federal Reserve has a target of 2% inflation rate. So when I saw just kind of locking in a utility increase of an order of magnitude of double that, 4%, it was something I found interesting. So anyway, I'll close with saying, who can afford this, especially our fixed income citizens here? What we really need is fiscally conservative leadership at this time, council, and we really depend on you as our elected council to be that for us. Thank you for that.
So we have Colton Iske.
Well, this is my first time coming up for one of these. My name's Colton Iske. I live at 412 East 8th Street, right over here by the Cotton Gin. I just kind of put down some notes here, but one of the first things I heard, and it caught my ear, was the terms equity and fairness used with regards to the decision-making on these rates. Terminology that's very familiar in a political philosophy known as socialism, which I imagine isn't a popular political philosophy in a deep red county as the one that Safford is in. I came to agreement, and I was going to say more on it, but I agree with the concept of grandfathering in. I think pulling the rug under current customers and their investments, pulling that investment out from under them is wrong. And rather than focusing on how to extract more revenue from current customers, we should spend our brain power figuring out ways to bring new customers in. We currently have our major industry that we have in this county is prisons and the mines. There's plenty more here. There's a lot of real estate here. There's a lot of land here where you could bring more industry into this community. Plenty. And I'm sure there's efforts put into that, but I can imagine there'd be more that can be put into it. To give an analogy, I feel like the situation is like a student who studied hard and worked hard and invested a lot of time into getting the A, but because everyone else averaged a C, their grade gets pulled down to a C. How's that fair to them? So I don't think it's right that, it doesn't sound fair to me in the name of fairness to destroy people's investments because the rules have been changed. And I mean, if you want us to go to this new rate, I think that there should be a reimbursement for the investments that we've put in. For example, with myself, I imagine that I should be getting a reimbursement check of at least $20,000 to counterbalance the savings that I've had with my solar panels versus the expenses that I paid for them. So, I mean, we can either grandfather in those that rightly have taken the time to invest into solar panels and to get ahead of the curve, or in the name of fairness, you reimburse them their investment, which it sounds like to me, most people it is around 20,000 or more. That's what I have.
Mayor, that does conclude all the public comments at this time.
Okay, well, we sure want to thank everybody for their comments. I will close the public hearing and reconvene into a regular meeting.
Mayor, point of order, please. I would suggest maybe a 5-minute break. I don't know if the full audience wants to stay for the remaining of the meeting. We're about 2 hours in. If
And
just
we'll
give a
take
quick bathroom
5-minute
break.
Okay.
which in the 10 years it
Right.
pays it off the building.
Everyone in the council chambers, our meeting has been called back in.
Way to go, B.
What's that?
I said, way to go.
I have to hit your gavel again.
Okay, would you please be quiet back there? We're getting going on our meeting again. Thank you. Okay, we'll go on to item number 12, new business. Did everybody have a chance to review our council, the minutes from September 22nd? Any comments or changes?
I have a question. I think a portion of the manager's evaluation, that was a session, doesn't it have minutes?
Mayor, Vice Mayor Lopez, it does. It was an executive session. So those minutes, of course, do not come up for public viewing or for approval. You did approve the minutes for his actual evaluation and the motion you guys made for his compensation at last meeting. You had September 15th and the 22nd.
That's where I thought it happened. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes for September 22nd, 2025.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the council meetings of September 22nd, 2025. All in favor? Opposed? Carries. Okay, then item number 2, authorization to expend opioid funds for purchase of a LEICA 3D scanner. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request from Police Department for Mayor and Council to approve a purchase of equipment and services from Leica Geosystems. This purchase will be fully reimbursed through the opioid settlement funds. Strategic goals are quality of life under public safety. Background, the Police Department has received funds from a statewide opioid settlement cases. These funds are specifically designated to support efforts aimed at combating the opioid epidemic and mitigating its impact on the community. To enhance investigative and prosecutorial capabilities, the department proposes the purchase of the Leica 3D scanner. This technology allows for highly accurate documentation, visualization, and recreation of crime scenes, which is critical when cases proceed to trial. Scanner also enables secure upload of the scans to an evidence management system, ensuring integrity and compliance with evidentiary standards. The Leica 3D scanner provides advanced capabilities to capture precise details of the scene that traditional methods cannot. This tool will be particularly beneficial in investigations directly linked to the opioid crisis, including overdose death investigations, severe motor vehicle accidents involving opioid impaired drivers, distribution and trafficking cases involving fentanyl and other opioids. Accurate documentation supports effective prosecution, enhances the credibility of evidence in court, and contributes to providing closure for victims' families. The acquisition of this technology will align with the department with the best practices in modern crime scene documentation. A sole source justification is attached to this request. Leica is the manufacturer of the hardware and software for this purchase and offer direct discounted prices. Financial analysis, the cost to purchase the Leica 3D scanner, RTC 360, and software with taxes, $129,874.76. This is a cost that would be covered under the existing funds from the opioid settlement money currently budgeted. Staff recommends that the City Council approve the purchase of the Leica RTC 360 3D scanner and applicable software in the amount of $129,867.76. Attaches the invoice and the sole source letter. Now it's down for questions.
Anybody else in the community have one of these?
So the part of the justification for using the Leica, these are used throughout the state. The state has been using these systems as far as the training for the use and implementation of the systems will come through Leica. Local agencies, which includes DPS. So if you see a major accident scene, they have people trained in this system and know how to operate it, and they will assist us in that.
Would it be available to other local agencies?
It will, as well as our within the city. Excuse me.
Can you tell me how you're going to know that it's an opioid-related traffic accident? I'm just trying to make the connection here because, I mean, unless you draw blood or something, how are you going to know that it's an opioid impaired driver?
By drawing blood.
But when you're using the camera, I understand that, but by using the camera, you're not gonna know it at the scene. You're not
Mhm.
gonna know it until later on. So are we making the best use of our opioid funds? Is this gonna be used at every traffic accident? Because every traffic accident could be an opioid driver, or how are we making sure we're making the best use of these funds?
So to say we're going to use it at every accident, no. Like if we have a fender bender, we're not going to bring this out. This is a highly technological piece of equipment for serious accidents, even motor vehicles involving death.
Do you know how many of our recent major accidents have involved opioid?
Just
Impaired?
to touch on a recent event, do you remember the Empire truck over there by the copper steer?
Mhm.
That was one that was related to that. So, big accidents a year. We have a few every year, serious accidents. But again, it's not just for traffic accidents. It's for deaths. If we have overdoses, any kind of, say we do a search warrant for sales of any kind of drugs that could be related to opioid.
Chief, I guess a broader question to kind of piggyback off that. This is something that we're confident fits under that umbrella of the opioid settlement spending.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I brought the justifications, so let me grab that real quick. So it fits under Part 3, Other Strategies, which I'll read the exact statement from that. Other strategies, it's under first responders, current and future law enforcement expenditures relating to the opioid epidemic.
Thank you.
Did you say here locally other people have this?
DPS has it.
DPS has it,
Yes,
but
sir.
not anybody else. So we'd be the only ones. Are we gonna end up sharing it?
We wouldn't share it. We would go out and use it. So in other words, I'm not going to give it to Thatcher. I'll send our people out to use the system.
So
and
you'll
operate it.
you'll do the work for them.
Correct.
Okay, and they're the only ones that manufacture the hardware and the software.
That is correct.
So I don't see any pricing in here that's gonna be next year to keep up the program or the program. There's not any other added costs in here that you've identified.
So for initially, the added costs have been covered by Leica. Moving forward, there would be an annual software cost of $1,500.
What would that be?
$1,500.
$1,500 a year.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
And all this covers your training
The initial, yes, and that is covered in this cost.
for all your officers?
Well, we're not going to train all the officers. We'll have people specialized in the use of this camera system.
Does this qualify them for the 3% added raise to, because they're qualified on this?
If you mean 5%, I hope so.
5%. They get 5%
Well,
more.
this doesn't have anything attached to it right now.
It doesn't, well, then there's holes in it that attached to it. Okay.
Holes.
If-
Can you
Okay,
explain?
if you draw blood, if you're a phlebotomist, you get extra pay.
Phlebotomist, yes, sir.
Yes. If you speak Spanish to a certain extent, you get extra pay.
Yes, sir.
Is everybody going to be eligible for this
Eligible.
training?
Eligible for the training?
Yes.
Not everybody, no. Like I wouldn't get trained on it. There's not the entire department won't get trained on it. There'll be certain people within the department that'll be trained on it. It's not feasible to train everybody in our department on the
But
use of
they'd
this.
fall under the qualifications and get the extra pay.
That has not been determined. That has not been even mentioned at this point.
You do remember that exists.
I do remember that you just brought it up.
Okay, but now, so you're saying that going forward annually, it's only going to cost us $1,500?
After the first 3 years, I believe is what it was.
So there is going to be a price attached to it afterwards. Okay, I was just trying to find out for sure what it was going to add to the budget.
Yeah.
And you're saying $1,500.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot tonight about inflation, so I'm sure those charges will go up at some point.
Because there's a lot of stuff, product that updates cost us money, calibration,
Mhm.
all those part of charges too?
Yeah, and I believe that's with all the equipment that we use, not just at the police department,
Yes, sir.
but throughout the city. Things have to be calibrated and kept up to date.
But,
That's pretty much an ongoing cost with several products, again, citywide that we use.
but none of that is spoken of in here, in your presentation.
As far as,
Updates.
well, we're talking about it right now, so what other updates?
I'd like to have an idea how much more it's gonna cost going forward.
$1,500.
Okay.
Is there another cost you're speaking of that I can
Yeah,
clarify?
maybe updates, calibration, that's involved in the 1,500?
That's part of the software update, yes, sir.
That's what I was getting at. And that could be for 3 years.
The first 3 years are free. After that, it'll be $1,500 a year, which in this case would be covered under, if we still had opioid funding. We would use the funds for that to cover the software updates.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Is there a specific reason why this came about for the opioid funds versus something else? Is this a specific need that you guys determine you need now? What is the reasoning behind this specific camera?
Behind this specific camera, several, excuse me, is the software that comes with it. So the main component that this software does is it allows us to directly upload, as well as, this is kind of a generic term, but print out any kind of crime scene that we may have, whether it be an accident or an investigation we have, say, within a house. It'll upload directly into our evidence software package that we use, which is through Axon. Other systems don't do that. And then I'm trying to think of how to exactly explain it where it makes sense. But basically, this system allows you to export to, say, a printout or to our Axon system. Other systems don't do that.
Was there something that happened that made you guys say, hey, this is probably something we need? Or I'm just wondering how we got from, like, what made you decide that you need this camera? Like, what the reasoning is?
For the documentation of crime scenes, accidents, things like that.
Was it just something like you saw it's available, or maybe you saw DPS using it and thought we could use it local?
Okay, I see what you're saying. So yeah, we've seen it, the value of it when DPS would come out. We've actually had them come out and shoot some of our scenes with it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Could I add to that a lot of times they're 6, 7, 8 hours waiting on this equipment to get here to run it? And if we had it locally, we could open our roads up a whole lot sooner.
Correct. And so when we were speaking of the last accident, we were actually fortunate to get that open up so quick because they had somebody local that was in the area that was able to come out and shoot that scene for us. You're talking shooting a scene within, say, an hour, as opposed to 4 or 5 hours doing it the traditional ways.
Glad you brought that point up. That's a good point.
No, I've sat at a lot of accidents. Thanksgiving 2 years ago in San Jose, we were 7 or 8 hours before anybody got there to start that process.
I appreciate you bringing up the how to transition the evidence to other devices and stuff like that. Chain of command or chain of custody is very, very important, and other systems eventually will have to catch up with the system. And this actual program is far from what other agencies have. The programs they're going to get sued eventually, or they're going to lose a case because of the chain of custody. That this program will not have that problem at all. So that's why this came about, because of other programs that are out there.
Anybody else?
And it's good and clear, huh? Good and clear to see this, and you can show it in court and all that kind of stuff.
That's one of the values of it. Is it's again, it's a 3D imaging that depicts everything that's at that scene.
Okay, it's an action item.
Mayor, I move that we approve authorization to expend opioid funds for the purchase of a Leica 3D scanner.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the purchase of a Leica 3D scanner. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Thank you.
And we'll move on to item 13, ordinances. Number 1.
Mayor, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Gotta
Real
read.
quick, I do apologize. I did not correct the title on there. It should say second read. The rest of the description says second read, and so does the council communication form. So I apologize. I made a mistake there. It says first read, but it should be second read.
Okay. So this ordinance number, it's a second read of ordinance number 025-009, amending chapter 16.08, subdivision procedures and requirements, and chapter 17.72, that's a large-scale development, and update the department regulations within the city of Safford to comply with HB 2447. Oh, Jamie, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Obviously, I am not our Community Development Director. She is not here this evening, so I will take the helm. So as part of the second reading, the purpose is to request Mayor and Council have a second read and either adopt or deny ordinance 25-009 regarding HB 2447 and related municipal code updates. Strategic goals are growth and development. The legislature has worked over the past several years to remove what it views as barriers to housing development in the state. HB 2447 was signed by the governor after the 2025 legislative session and requires that certain approvals be completed administratively without public hearings. City Council work session held on September 8th also included discussions of HB 2928. We won't go into that. We left it in for the sake of completeness. So basically, HB 2447 does several things. Site plan, development plans, land divisions, lot line adjustments, lot ties, preliminary plats, final plats, and plat amendments will go through an administrative personnel review and approval. These will not require a public hearing any longer. It also discusses licensing, which includes in the whole or part of any municipal permit, certificate, approval, registration, charter, or similar form of permission required by law. License does not include a transactions privilege license. Allow at-risk submittals for on-site preliminary grading and drainage. The idea here is that you're allowing this to go off in advance of having approvals, but it's subject to at-risk. There may be changes required after the fact. Expedited permit review, we're going to be seeking a $25 fee. That's going to come back at a later time. It's been noticed already, so we'll bring that item back for council approval. And then the self-certification program would allow essentially developers to stamp their own plans. It's really designed for the Phoenix metro area where you get more cookie cutter types of things. We did not adopt that provision. It wasn't required, so we will still be reviewing all the plans. Based on the information provided in a work session review of current legislation, our municipal code, staff requests a second read and adoption of ordinance 25-009, and I will answer any questions that are within my capacity to do so at this time.
This is not an automatic expedited thing. You would have to ask for it and volunteer to pay that extra money, right?
Mayor, Councilman McGoy, that's correct.
Mayor, I move that we approve a second read and adoption of ordinance O25-009.
Okay, we have a motion, a second, to approve ordinance 025-009. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
This approves ordinance number 025-009, an ordinance of the City of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, amending Chapter 16.08 subdivision procedures and requirements and Chapter 17.72 large-scale development to update the development regulations within the City of Safford to comply with House Bill 2447.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to number 14, resolutions. Number 1, Resolution R25-030, creating a new City of Safford travel policy. Troy?
Mayor and Council, Troy Bingham, your Finance Director. I bring before you, this is a request for mayor and council to approve resolution R25030 for the new City of Safford travel policy. If you'll remember, in a previous weeks, we brought a work session and talked about our current travel policy and travel procedure. They're actually in conflict with one another. They say two different things. I think the procedure is what we've been using, but that was never actually voted on by previous councils. It was presented to previous councils. So this new policy, I'll discuss it a little bit, has rectified that. It got rid of the policy from 2003, and it got rid of the procedure from 2012 and just started it fresh. I use the city of Tucson, recently gone through a change in their travel policy, so the legality of it was reviewed by their attorneys, but I just changed the wording to meet the city of Safford after discussing with you guys during the work session what you wanted to see in that travel policy. So a lot of the policy mirrors the travel procedure, not the travel policy that was initially passed, and codifies that, but it does it in a more modern format that is legally defensible. But again, going back to the beginning of why do we travel for training and professional development at the city. I recently just sent a team to Cassell Conference for learning on our ERP system. I believe it was very valuable for the city, and we should continue to do that. We send people for operational needs and project work. There is work that happens outside of the county that we have to go inspect. It could be a piece of infrastructure being built for our water department in another state. It could be a fire truck being built in another state. And we have to go inspect that and make sure that that meets our needs and what we want. And we got to do that before it arrives. We also send people for representation and compliance. We serve on many boards and many councils and many committees throughout the state. We try to get City of Safford's knowledge and wisdom out there for those that can share in what we've done. So we need to travel for those, and that is outside the county. This new travel policy, like I said, gets rid of the old travel policy from 2003 and gets rid of the travel procedures from 2012 and starts anew. Hopefully I've covered all the changes. This is the high level as you go through the policy. The purpose, we define the purposes for training, for conferences, official meetings, inspections, lobbying, et cetera, what I just covered. The policy is only applicable to officials and employees. We did discuss the idea of vendors, but I didn't really see a momentum on that, and no real locality has adopted that idea in this state. So we did not include vendors. So vendors can still do their own travel policies, but employees and council use this policy. It establishes a supervisory role. We kind of talked a little bit about that a supervisor and a department head do pre-approvals, and I'll go through that form once this policy is passed, and we'll update that with that new understanding that a supervisor and a department head will actually review it. If it's international travel, we kind of mentioned off the cuff that the city manager would need to be part of that travel, and there is need that we sometimes travel to Cananea, Mexico for sister city activities. Required documentation for travel justifications. Again, this is mostly in the P-card procedure we currently have, but we need to document better. So as I change the form, what is the benefit to the city? Is it mandatory training, et cetera? We want to get that defined out there. So currently the form doesn't really cover that, so we want to be a little bit more concrete about that. We did talk about, as it follows the procedure, that everything would be paid for by the P-card if possible. So transportation, airfare, mileage reimbursement for personal vehicles would possibly be a check, because you can't really pay yourself on your own P-card unless you take credit cards, which is very few people, right? So we would have to do that in the form of a check, but rental car, public transit would all be covered by your P-card. Lodging for the conference would be covered. We wanted to keep the GSA rates in there for guidance purposes, so letting the supervisor and managers know, hey, here's what the federal government says, but as I discussed during that work session, the GSA rate doesn't even make sense for the city of Safford. So what you pay for a hotel here is not even close to what the GSA rate says. So again, it's guidance, not perfect direction from the GSA rate. Meals and incidentals, again, you could use the GSA rate for guidance, but we discussed the idea that sometimes it's just one meal for the day, and it could be more than the dinner allocation for GSA. But again, GSA for guidance, but we'll pay for anything that the employee needs to feed themselves with their P-card. Registration and fees for conferences, workshops, and trainings, again, would still be paid for on your P-card. Other allowable costs, this one actually goes into the things like baggage fees, parking tolls, internet access for business use. Our prior policies and procedures didn't really cover that. It does still define that things that the city will never pay for is alcohol, entertainment, personal side trips, families and guest expenses. So it does define that a little bit better than prior policies and procedures. And then upgrades, will not cover those. It does cover that a little bit. especially the rental car area, I think it gets a little bit more defined. We talked about that as staff, as managers, to figure out what that rental car policy should say. Preference on cost-effective travel arrangements. This is what I liked about the city of Tucson, is they kind of talked about what can be you try to keep in mind that we represent the city of Safford and the citizens, and we need to do things that represent the city of Safford and the citizens, be cost-effective and I want to use Russian words, deshevly, as minimum cost to the citizens as possible. Mileage reimbursement is the IRS rate. Again, that changes every year in January. It's currently 70 cents, I believe. The use of again, P-card is again preferred to keep the amount of work down. We don't want to do a lot of AP checks and create more work for my staff of one. And then documentation, again, this is the P-card more than this policy, requires original itemized receipts for reimbursements. I've been looking at a few of these travels. Itemized receipts would be a very good thing. And travel logs and agendas, documentation, so better documentation attached. Like, I don't think we always get that agenda. What are you going to? Is there a meal served at that banquet? It's kind of good to know that. Why did you buy a lunch if there was a meal at the banquet, at the conference, right? Again, you can choose that. We did talk, one of the things that the Vice Mayor brought up was reasonable safety and security. We wanted to make sure that the policy covered that, and we covered a few points of that with staff to make sure that we're making sure that safety is in mind for all of our citizens, especially when you're traveling outside the city or the county of Graham County, sorry. Advances, advances, again, we're gonna discourage that, the use of reimbursements, use the P card, but again, if you accidentally use your own card, we will reimburse you. We're not locking you out. We will repay any charges you have using the petty cash or a pay request. And then ethics and accountability, duty to minimize costs to the taxpayer, and then disclose any outside funding, sponsorships, and reimbursement. I like this because it kind of goes with our ethics policy. I really want to know that we're not eating and getting things from our vendors because that doesn't look good, that we want to be above board on any of our engagements. So again, and just disclose if a vendor paid for your stuff, might be against the ethics policy, but you need to disclose that. And we encourage that, hey, maybe we pay for the meal. If you want to eat with the vendor, pay for the meal. And that takes away all the ethics out of it. So if the city of Safford's paying for it, there's no ethic. You're not taking any bribe from anybody. They make it sound worse than it is. And again, so here's the travel policy. The original resolution, you can see, was redlined from 2003. This is the accountability plan that was presented in 2012. It redlines all of that document. It's completely gone. And then we get to the new policy is this one that looks very similar to, like I said, the city of Tucson, and it covers all those points that I just covered. With that in mind, I turn it back over to council and mayor for any questions or concerns.
That was a lot of redlining in there. You do have a sense of humor.
We put it in there twice for you if you
Yeah,
didn't
you
notice.
did. Yeah, you, middle of the sentence and on the bottom. I thought, look at Troy. So, oh, I said, look at Mr. Bingham.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Thank you for clarifying with that. I think it's very clean now. There's no ambiguous language. It's very clear of who's responsible for what, and the timelines were very clear. So thank you for getting that cleaned up really well.
Thank you.
And it is a policy.
It is a policy now. No more procedure, just a policy.
Okay.
Council approved policy. Not yet. We're waiting on that. I look forward to that.
Anybody else? It is an action item.
Mayor, I move that we approve Resolution R25-030, creating a new City of Safford travel policy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution R25-030, creating a new City of Safford travel policy. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor? Opposed? Carries.
This approves resolution number R25-030, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, repealing resolution R03-37 that was adopted 22nd of September of 2003, and subsequent amendments to the travel policy, and creating a new City of Safford travel policy.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to item number 2, resolution R25-031, airport commercial hangar contingency request. Cameron?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request for Mayor and Council to approve Resolution R-25-031, authorizing the expenditure of contingency funds for the airport commercial hangar construction project, CIP number AP 2504. Strategic goals are growth and development and financial management. In the 2025 capital improvement plan, City Council budgeted $500,000 for the construction of a commercial hangar at the airport. Staff entered into negotiations with Petroleum Helicopters Incorporated, or PHI, to construct a hangar for them, which PHI would lease from the city. PHI entered into a 10-year lease agreement with the city for this hangar to begin upon completion of construction. And airport and engineering staff worked with the airport's contracted engineering firm to design the hangar. The bid was advertised in July, and bids were received in late August. Unfortunately, the low bid came in over budget, as shown in the budget recap below. With the updated construction costs, the city will recover construction costs in 17 years. Under the original budget, the city would have cost recovered in 10 years. While this does extend the timeline to recover the city's investment, it is important to note that this hangar will have a lifespan of greater than 50 years, during which it will continue to produce revenue. Staff also plans to utilize the Arizona Department of Corrections asphalt crew to complete paving work on this project at a minimal labor cost, with the city providing materials. Staff has found that in order to complete this project, additional funds are required. Since this project will generate an average revenue of $60,000 per year, proceeding with construction is in the best interest of the city, as it enhances the airport's financial self-sufficiency. And the budget recap below shows the original budget of $500,000, the low bid for trailer construction at $850,000, including a 10% contingency, apron preparation costs, paving costs, and some lighting costs, bring the total cost to $983,000, which would leaves a contingency request of $483,000. And staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve Resolution R-25-031, authorizing the expenditure of contingency funds in the amount of $483,000 to complete all work required to complete the project. And at this time, I will stand for questions.
Is there something that we missed on our original estimate? Because the cost of the project essentially doubled. So what did we miss, or what doubled to make the cost double?
Mayor Ortega, Councilman Brentner. So this project is relatively unique. Normally, as a municipal entity, we're normally building utility infrastructure, something of that nature, roads. So we go and we have the project identified and we budget specifically to that project cost. Because this is an economic development project, this project was budgeted. We had a pot of funds that we said, hey, we're going to set this aside for hangar development. Then after that, then we had to go out and find a company that was interested in leasing that hangar. We didn't want to do build it and they will come. We didn't want to speculate on the market. We wanted to make sure we had a tenant already lined up that's signing a lease that says, hey, we're going to pay for this project. What that meant is that we went out. PHI has been a great tenant at the airport for decades now. They said, hey, we're ready to move. We'd like to have a permanent facility on the airfield. Right now, they're living out of a temporary facility and some helipads. They want to move into a hangar. We identified that with them. We worked through the design process with them, and they have some additional requirements, including crew quarters. They need a little bit larger area because they're operating helicopters versus a fixed-wing aircraft. So there were some additional requirements that they had that drove up the cost. And then, of course, tariffs and everything else have driven up the cost as well over the last 9 months.
Is that also changing their rent with us accommodating to their specific needs, say the crew quarters, things like that?
So, Mayor, Councilwoman Brentner, so the rent was already calculated with the crew quarters in mind. So we're still cost recovering. The difference is just that we're cost recovering in 17 years versus 10. 10 years would be an absolutely amazing rate of return on a commercial building like this. 17 years, 15 to 20 years is pretty average for this market. In fact, commercially, if you're building in Phoenix, they expect 30 years is their rate of return.
Thank you.
That's what kind of saves it with me, Cameron, is that you got somebody ready to go move in there. But how do we avoid this happening again?
So Mayor Ortega, Vice Mayor Lopez. So the question then becomes from council, if we move forward, we decide to build additional hangars. We do have another hangar projected in the next fiscal year CIP. The question would then become, do we want to simply speculate on the market and go in? We have a set budget. We design a hangar to meet that budget, and then we go find a tenant after the fact. That is an option. There are other options we could pursue in the future. I've examined things like public-private partnerships, where essentially we could leverage the money we have work through a private entity that's interested in building more hangars at a greater scale. There are a variety of other options we could pursue in the future, but essentially, we would have to design the hangar without a tenant, or find a tenant that's willing to have a smaller facility.
Well, you're looking for specific tenants, which helps a whole lot, especially with this one moving in. Them staying in there is real likely because they're from here, they stay here. We hit good that way, but 483,000 again, that's going to be a little hard to swallow. So that's all I got to say.
Absolutely.
Anybody else? One good thing is we know we'll get that 483,000 back.
Yeah.
Over a period of time.
Good, and it's a good tenant moving in.
Yeah, absolutely. And this once again, I'd like to highlight, the airport is now well on its way to self-sufficiency with the addition of the FBO and correcting leases and all of the new leasing we're doing. Really, when you look at really a much faster rate of return, hangars is how you do it. When we lease ground, we're leasing ground for $2,000, $3,000 a lot. This is $60,000 a year for a hangar. Of course, requires more upfront capital, but also as we look at building additional hangars, this helps us bring in commercial entities that do more than just park an aircraft on the airport. They're doing business here, they have employees here, they do business in town, they shop at our stores. So it's great for the entire community as well.
Okay, this is an action item then.
Mayor, I move that we approve Resolution R25-031.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve Resolution R25-031. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor? Opposed? Carries.
This approves Resolution Number R25-031, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, adopting a change to the fiscal year 2026 Capital Improvement Plan, known as CIP, for the Safford Regional Airport.
Thank you. Okay, then we'll move on to item 15, contracts and agreements. Commercial hangar, award construction contract, CIP number AP 2504. The request for the mayor and the city council to award a construction contract to Taylor Construction LLC from Safford, Arizona for the airport commercial hangar.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jace Elkins, your city engineer. This is a request for Mayor and City Council to award a construction contract to Trailer Construction LLC from Safford, Arizona for the airport commercial hangar development. Strategic goals are growth and development and infrastructure expansion. Just background, this project is funded by the general fund with a budget amount of $500,000. An additional $483,000 has been requested just now by the airport manager and granted, bringing our total budget to $983,000. The commercial hangar development will consist of completing a final set of design plans and constructing a new commercial hangar at the Safford Airport. The commercial hangar is intended to house Petroleum Helicopter Inc., PHI, operations. The commercial hangar development will consist of a 5,184 square foot metal building with an aircraft hangar, livable quarters, and all necessary utilities. The project was advertised and bidders solicited in accordance with ARS formal bidding procedures. A notice for invitation to bid was published in the local newspaper, and a mandatory pre-bid conference was held on July 16th, 2025, and was attended by 10 prospective bidders. On August 21st, 2025, the city clerk received 5 base bids that were publicly read with the following results. Straight Arrow Contracting LLC, $1,241,997.89. Aztec Contracting LLC, $967,643. BFL Construction Companies, $1,693,491. Trailer Construction LLC, $773,089. And Barker Contracting Inc. at $1,290,257.42. We had an engineer's estimate from Dibble at $408,986.65. The commercial hangar development is in the 5-year capital improvement plan as a carryover project from the last year, fiscal year 2024-25. Just a quick recap, our budget for this project is $983,000, and the bid from Trailer Construction is $773,089. Staff has found that the lowest bidder submitted by Trailer Construction LLC is the lowest responsive bidder and is qualified to complete the work as specified for the project. Therefore, staff are recommending the contract award for the design and construction of the commercial hangar to Trailer Construction LLC in the amount of $773,089, and allow the city manager or a designee to execute contract change orders not to exceed 10% of the construction contract value if it is in the best interest of the city to do so. I will stand for any questions.
What's the engineer's estimate? What does that reflect?
I assume, Mayor and Councilman Lopez, I assume that's before they knew, I'm assuming it's just for the hangar, just a box, before they knew who the tenant was and the custom.
Cameron got some help.
Mayor, Vice Mayor Lopez, so the engineer's estimate that Dibble Engineering completed was for the hangar and for the pad preparation. However, we found that construction costs were significantly higher. So they did complete a full engineer's estimate on this one as well.
Okay, just thought that helped make that low bid worse. Low estimate worse. So, thank you, sir.
Anybody else? Not as an action item.
Mayor, I move that we approve the commercial hangar award construction contract to Trailer Construction LLC.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the construction contract number AP 2504 to Trailer Construction LLC of Safford. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, then. We'll move on to item number 16, announcement of current events. Anybody has any?
Mayor, this it probably fits here if nowhere else. I'm going to go back a couple of meetings. We got a fantastic presentation from the gas department. And I have to apologize for not pointing out how amazing it was, how the information that we got, the things that are being accomplished. I still sometimes with the utilities in some of these areas don't even the police department, sometimes I don't even recognize in the moment exactly what I'm hearing, the scope of it, the impact that it could have. And so I just felt really bad after that meeting to not have, and I'm glad Ray's here tonight, to not have said how fantastic that was. So I'm taking that opportunity now.
Anybody else? If not, we'll move to item number 7.
Mayor.
Oh, okay.
Just want to take just a brief moment to remind you all that this weekend is our free dump, our last one of the year. Thursday, Friday, Saturday at the landfill should be good weather. I should all got the flyer in your water bill. One thing also to think about, we do this 3 times a year. We do it February, June, and October. Seem to work pretty good, but I've got quite a few comments about the June date, super hot. We're thinking about maybe pushing 2 in the spring, maybe February and early May or late April, and then skipping October. So if you had any comments, suggestions, throw them my way, and that's probably what we'll do next year. So just a reminder. Councilman McGoy.
I just noticed we got a community cleanup and something on City Hall lawn at the same time, and the same people tend to run both. Our volunteers are only so thin, so.
Well, the one good thing is our landfill staff pretty much covers the free dump out there. So, and they don't usually work the event here, so we can at least handle that end.
Some of our Lions Club and some of those civic people that would go do a cleanup somewhere on City Hall lawn, and I know that people talk when they put these things together and the community calendar gets thrown out there sometimes, but I'd really like to see us not stack so much stuff on the 3 good weekends we have.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to schedule these fall ones because of the events, and then we have hunts going on, which makes it hard to staff the event. So we set our free dump weekends at the end of the year. I know these other events are kind of floating sometimes, but we'll try and coordinate those.
I'm going to say that to the other groups too.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Henry,
sir.
on one of the papers, the advertisement, it said that Safford gets a free truck load.
That's just a reminder, once a month,
Yes.
Safford residents get that free
Well,
truck load.
I was
Yes.
hoping you could specify the size of the truck,
It's a pickup truck.
because they come in with a 5-ton truck, they get the dump.
It's not a dump truck. It's a pickup load or equivalent. So a
Well,
lot
it
of people
says-
have,
it
a lot of
just
people.
says truck.
Yeah, well, a lot of people have a trailer that's a pickup trailer.
Well, you're causing
okay.
an argument as to,
We'll clean that up.
okay, sir, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, one more. Sorry, Cameron. This weekend, Harvest Fest, 10 a.m., City Hall lawn, historic Main Street. Ends at 10 p.m. Thank you.
Mayor, real quick, just to add to the free dump weekend, just to notify the council, our clerk assistant here will be working the free dump to help with staff shortages in the scale house. One of the employees is, I believe, getting married this weekend, so she stepped up and is going to be helping out there. So if you go out there and see her, that's why.
Popcorn.
That's all, Cameron?
Mayor and council, just a quick reminder, we're quickly approaching the air show, the Safford Air Show that's coming back this year on November 1st. So we're hard at work getting everything ready for that. We've got performers coming in from all over the country. So we hope that everybody will be out there November 1st at 10 a.m. Thank you.
Cameron, have you put it out so that we get some more food vendors? Because those lines were crazy long last year.
Mayor Ortega, Councilman Brantner, yes, Mick has helped quite a bit, and I believe at this point we've got 14 food vendors that are signed up. Hopefully now that it's the second year and people are aware that it actually is a thing, and hopefully also saw the crowd size last year, we should have quite a lot to show up.
And is there going to be more transportation between, where the helicopter takes off and the main area there?
Yes, Mayor Ortega.
Oh, that's a long walk for.
Yeah, they have a van that we're getting them this year, and then we also have some golf carts that we'll be running back and forth as well.
Mayor?
Anybody else?
And
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
no, I just want to say thanks. I believe it was Scarborough that brought out the Porta-Johns. We actually have some pink ones. And they can identify which ones are which now. So thank you to Scarborough.
Mayor, I had a couple items. One, traditionally during the holidays on November and December, we do one council meeting. So I want to put that out there to council that this year, again, we would ask that we do only the first council meeting in November and December because of Thanksgiving and Christmas, as long as everybody is okay with that.
Yes.
Okay.
And also the first meeting on November, we will do the Christmas bonus. Have some requests from some of the employees that we try to get that done in advance of December so they can use that money during the holidays if council grants up to the $500 number. So we will bring that in November. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, and I want to sincerely thank everybody who showed up tonight for this public hearing on the rates. I have to say, everyone who was here and everyone who has come to speak to us in person have been exemplary, and that is the process. You know, we don't often get a lot of people coming in. Obviously, this is something of concern to them, and I thought everybody really did a wonderful job speaking tonight, and also every interaction that we have as staff have had, I think a couple mentioned it, have been exemplary. So I really do appreciate that. I know these can be kind of emotional issues, and they did a fantastic job. So I thank all of them.
Anybody else? If not, we'll move on to item number 17.
I have one, please. I know B sent out the ethics, but I would like to see if we could have a meeting where you could go more in depth on that. There's been a couple situations lately, like 2 that have happened to me specifically, that I would like some clarification on. So if we could have more of an in-depth meeting, not just like email it out and say, here's how it is, just kind of go through it and give some examples of it for us. That would
Mayor
be
and Councilwoman
helpful.
Bratner, so we do plan a yearly kind of not a retreat, but presentation to the council of the handbook, the code of ethics, and so forth that's in your handbook. Of course, we'll also have Bill, if you have more questions on that code of ethics maybe I cannot answer, we can have the legal advice from Bill
Yeah.
to answer any of your questions.
Just more of a little,
Yeah, so that should be coming, I believe we have it scheduled for January is when I do that presentation on open meeting law, code of ethics, and so forth.
thank you.
Is that okay, January? Because
Good
we
enough.
plan on coming around every year to kind of remind everybody of the different pieces. Open meetings law we did, I think we all learned a little bit there too. So the idea being that every year, if we do it at the same time and then there's an election, you'll seat your council in December. So in January, if there's anybody new, they get to hear it all too.
That's fine, as long as we go in depth on it.
Okay.
that'll be
Third January then.
Yeah.
Steve,
I'd like to, I don't want to make a bunch of work, but I'd like to know what this rate study, specifically solar, what it would look like if we threw grandfather into it. And I know that's not an easy thing to answer, so I don't know if it would lengthen it out too far, or, I mean,
I
don't
don't
know.
think
We-
it would, Mayor, Councilman McGoy, because I think that you would be increasing the benefit to those. Again, I'd have to check with Bill because you're splitting it, but I think if you use what you've put into the rate study, it has been advertised. If those who would be grandfathered would be receiving essentially a higher benefit, then I believe the notification that we provided would be okay. We can check with the attorney to double check that, but I don't think if we grandfathered it would change any of the notifications that we've done, but I'll check with Bill to double.
I'm guessing it would make a whole lot of work for Mr. Bingham, and
I
I
do,
don't know from a tracking standpoint.
John, real quick, I do believe we would have to renotice all the fees just because it would be an added fee being grandfathered, and we'd have to state that on the rates. Bill can correct me if I'm wrong, but we would have to start that
So
60-day
that would
process.
simply delay us. We could still do it. You would just have to notice it and wait 60 days.
If you're increasing the rate, if B's right, you need to renotice it, unfortunately, yes.
But we're not increasing the rate.
But I think, but I think the effect though is, well, let me talk to B. Yeah, let me talk to B.
Yeah, let's talk offline so we make sure we get
Okay,
it
okay.
right.
Yeah, okay.
well, and Mr. McGoy suggesting looking into the grandfathering of that meeting, but nobody suggested the length of time of the grandfather or if there's gonna be a grandfather on the grandfather. What would that look like?
Great grandfather.
Yeah,
So,
great grandfather.
I took
all
it as
right.
a grandfather forever, they would be at 100%, right?
Okay, well, that,
I don't know how to calculate it any other way, because you've had customers that came in since 1998.
yeah, well,
so-
there was no.
Should we be discussing this in this much detail?
Yeah, we should probably
was-
limit the discussion on it, but
I'm just
we'll look into
clarifying.
it with,
No, it was on the agenda tonight, so you can
Okay.
talk about this.
Well,
thank
that-
you.
That's just the other suggestion I was hoping to add to what Mr. McGoy said. I don't look for a grandfather indefinitely. Is there a time frame also? It was never mentioned at all tonight.
Can we look at it and I can
5
give you
years,
some
5
pointers
years,
on,
7 years, 10 years, what?
I look at like our system capacity to handle this. I don't know if we have this capacity. We would have to understand that certain customers have this rate, certain customers have this rate. So I come at it from more of a procedural standpoint. I'm worried about it from that. So give us some time to think about it, talk about it amongst staff, and we'll come back to you on that one.
And it might be interesting to know where those lawsuits he was speaking about went and how that played into.
We've checked. There's
And we
no-
did, Mayor, Councilman McGoy, we did talk to our electric attorney and she didn't have anything on that, but we can look specifically at Las Vegas and see if she can come up with anything that would fit.
Don't want to go there if we don't have to.
Yeah.
So I had something. So the co-op back in 2018, grandfathered them in for 20 years.
Yeah, keep in mind, they're on the Corporation Commission, so that is a procedure of the Corporation Commission.
That's just an
You
idea.
don't have to do that.
I mean, I
I
understand.
know it's an idea, but
But if we want to grandfather in, I mean, that's, if he's talking about a time limit.
And that's a precedent.
Yeah.
Question. Several times it was mentioned that we're changing what we agreed to with them. I believe the document that you sent out to us, did it not reference that it was subject to change? Because to
It-
me, when they
Uh.
kept getting up there speaking, it was as if we signed a contract with them or we gave them a guarantee. But I haven't seen anything. Is there something that we are missing?
We have resolutions about net metering, but resolutions by definition are temporary, even ordinances are if you update them. So the documents that we were shown, at least that we've seen, were net metering documents. We're not discussing, I mean, it was more conceptual in supporting the use of it, but it wasn't like locking in a rate for life or anything. There was no numbers or data in there. It was a net metering policy.
So nothing that they signed, no agreement stated we were
There's
going
an
to give them.
acknowledgement that you understood how you were going to be billed, that's all.
So it did
There-
not state the rate.
The
they
city
would be
never
paid.
agreed to a set rate when you bought your system. That's what we didn't talk about,
Is
right?
that, that must have been promised by the solar company?
Right, and
Correct.
it's probably something that they did talk about, because they would work out whatever the rate of return bit would be based on the way they were being charged. But everything that we do is subject to change. And I'm not saying you have to, I'm saying we don't lock anything in for eternity. I mean, things have to change, prices change. And again, if you're doing an enterprise fund, part of that is the requirement that it's self-sustaining, and that's part of your enterprise fund.
I just felt bad because they kept referencing, well, you agreed, I never would have done this, you promised, you're changing, and I'm like, what did we change?
We did
So-
create a program, but that's not a promise in perpetuity, as would any program isn't necessarily. I mean, you wouldn't even need a council at that point. You would make a program stop and they would be there forever. It just, and again, I'm not dismissing their concerns at all. I'm just saying there's nothing that would legally bind us to whatever it is that we created.
I just want to make sure we weren't missing a document that was making any
We did
promises.
not see it,
that
and we
sounded-
cannot find it. Now, with the grandfathering issue, we can look at that. We have an attorney, we can talk to them. I did talk to her already. And based on the fact that we're buying out existing credits, only enhances the fact that it would be more difficult for a lawsuit to be brought. And we didn't do it for that reason. We were trying to be fair and say, let's make sure we cash everybody out from the pre-existing program and give them dollars for credits, which again, you're giving them real money for credits. But again, that was part of it, because trying to make it as fair as we could. But as far as I know, I've never seen a document. The one I was shown tonight is a net metering policy.
Thank
you. You requested something on ethics be on the agenda.
Yes.
I kind of wonder a little bit more, because are we going to be able to talk about an incident that happened? Why it happened, who initiated, what the outcome was supposed to be or not be?
Mayor,
I
Vice
think
Mayor.
we're now getting onto areas that I don't think are on the agenda.
Thank you, Bill.
Can that be part of the agenda request then in the future to talk about that?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, I would say that that's a personnel issue, so we would have to notify the employees. And usually those are discussed in executive session unless the employee decides for it to be in an open meeting.
Okay.
Bill can advise differently if.
That's
I'm-
correct.
I
But we
think he's talking about my situation.
That, Mayor, or Councilwoman Bratner, because that does involve an employee, we would follow the same process where I'd
No.
have to.
Mine has nothing to do with an employee.
Oh, then I apologize. I'm only aware of one
Yeah, no.
situation. So I think at this point, we could probably talk offline with the
Yeah,
attorney.
we would have to find out what the issues are and then schedule appropriately.
Okay.
But certainly there would be a way to discuss it somehow.
Yeah, because I'm concerned about it too, because it somewhat involved me, and I would like to know what it's about.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, then we'll get with Bill and see what the process would be for that.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get this, whatever it is, floating out there and all, let's get it settled so we can get to work, have peace in the family, and do the city business. Whatever's out there, let's bring it out now and get it done. Okay? Item number 17. No,
Mayor,
we went through that.
I move that we adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor? Opposed? We're out of here. We're adjourned.